United States government trying to stop her from entering the country. Pandor returned from the US this week to an email from the Cape Town consulate informing her that she may no longer use her visitor's visa issued to her last year and would have to reapply. And now she says she was not offered any reasons for why the visa has been retracted. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
Since retiring from active politics, Pandor has travelled to the United States twice this year, largely to meet with the organisation Justice for All, which is focused on the situation of Palestinians in Gaza.
And also comparing their situation with the experience of Black South Africans under apartheid.
She also addressed the United Nations on International Nelson Mandela Day in July. For now, Pandor says she's undecided as to whether she will reapply for another US visa.
I'm still thinking through whether there is any merit in me reapplying and having an interview. I don't know what the content of that might be.
Former member of the Jewish Board of Deputies and attorney Lawrence Novozenitz is among those who have written to the US government, claiming Pandor aligned herself with pro-Palestinian states, Iran and Qatar during her tenure as minister. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says there should be zero tolerance to countries who threaten the national sovereignty of another state. The thinly veiled criticism also comes amid concerns about US President Donald Trump's approach to foreign policy, which is defined by an America First doctrine that is highly skeptical of traditional multilateralism. Ramaphosa addressed delegates at the close of the B20 summits in Sandton yesterday, where business leaders from G20 member states were gathered.
We are sovereign countries and we need to be treated as equals. Our sovereignty needs to be respected. We need to sit around the table as equals and having the same share of knowledge, the same share of capability, without any bullying the other, without any
Political fixer Brown Mokhotsi says he feels suppressed by the line of questioning from the chairpersons and the evidence leader at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry that's been investigating alleged police corruption. Mokhotsi yesterday was interrogated for the entire day over numerous inconsistencies in his testimony, and he ultimately conceded that some of his statements were untruthful and based on hearsay. During the intense questioning, Mokhotsi appeared visibly uncomfortable and told the chairperson that he felt suppressed. Reports.
Political fixer Brown Mokhotsi was not only questioned about the inconsistencies in his testimony, but was also questioned by co-chairperson advocate Sandile Khumalo about his date of birth.
I was born in 1977.
So that's another lie in your affidavit when you said you were born in August 1979. That's another lie.
No, Commissioner, it's not a lie. Commissioner, my ID number, my date of birth in the Home Affairs, even my mother knows. I was born in 1977. It is just an error of 1979 from the Home Affairs.
Mokhotsi appeared visibly uncomfortable and literally breathed a sigh of relief at the conclusion of the proceedings. He's expected to return on a date yet to be confirmed, while the commission will continue with new testimony on Tuesday next week. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he expects to discuss a new truce plan with US President Donald Trump to end the 3-year-long war with Russia. Ukraine will give up a vast of its eastern territory to Russia and slash the size of its army under the proposed 28-point peace plan backed by the US. Kyiv will also pledge never to join NATO and will not get the Western peacekeepers they have called for. Ukraine had been hoping for European-led peacekeepers, but Russia's refusal to accept any such force also wins out in the plan. Moscow will be readmitted to the G8 group of nations and be rewarded with sanctions relief under the plan, which US officials say is still a working document. The White House has denied reports that it came up with the proposal with Russia, saying envoy Steve Witkoff and his Secretary of State Marco Rubio had been quietly working with both sides for the past month. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
As always, I'm not going to litigate the details of this plan as it's ongoing and it's in flux, but the president supports this plan. It's a good plan for both Russia and Ukraine, and we believe that it should be acceptable to both sides, and we're working very hard to get it done.
Gold is trading at $4,074.74 an ounce. The rand is at 17.23 to the dollar, 22.53 to the pound, 19.86 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $62.65 a barrel.
Traffic is heavily backed up on the M1 North. This is approaching Jan Smuts Avenue due to that truck that overturned. And delays are as you come out of the Crown interchange. About a 20-minute hold up along the Mike 1 North this morning. Please be on the lookout there and try to avoid. If you're traveling in Bedfordview, we've got an accident reported on the N3 North. It's right near Van Buren Road. It is causing delays just as you come out of the Yalans interchange.
And in your sport, Mitchell Starc takes early wickets as he heaps the pressure on England on the first day of the Ashes. R.G. Snyman to bring up a 50th Springbok cap against Ireland this weekend. And Germany, the last nation to secure Davis Cup semi-final spot.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng with afternoon thunder showers expected. Johannesburg is at a low of 13 degrees, peaking at 26. Pretoria 15 and 27. Vereeniging 14 and 27 degrees as well. The top story in EWN this hour. Former International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor says she has no idea what may have influenced a decision by the US to revoke her visa.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes after 6 o'clock, it is a Friday. It's the 21st of November, the year of our Lord, 2025. Where are you listening to us from? Are you in Western area? Randfontein? Azadville? Magalies? Muldersdrift? Are you in Walkerville? Are you in Eikenhof? It doesn't matter. All around 702 land. Welcome to the program. Welcome one, welcome all. My name is Bongani Bingwa. I'm the host of 702 Breakfast. We've got an entire team with us behind the scenes. We've got producers, Siamtanda and Keta, putting the show together. Amoramila is here to tell us what's going on the roads. That is going to be very important over the next, I would say 72 hours at the very least. Amo?
Yes, good morning, Bongani. It's certainly going to be very busy. Already we're having some of the roads being closed off to traffic, especially around the Nasrec area. But during the day, you should expect those road closures, especially on the major routes. Yesterday, we had the N3 as well as the R24 West completely closed off to traffic from 9 until late into the evening. That was for some delegates traveling within those areas. So please be ready for those road closures and plan your trips ahead of time.
It's going to be inconvenience galore around Johannesburg, but it's a big, big moment. This is almost like the World Cup of politics, if you like. Muteo Haripe, good morning.
Good morning, Bongs.
How are you feeling this morning?
I'm good. Feeling good.
Who was the witch doctor? Who called the interest rate cuts?
Oh, that was you, yes. I went to the right witch.
Who feels clever today?
We got a cut, 25 basis
with
points.
Bongani Bingwa
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
On our menu today, so much to discuss with Sanusha Naidu, who is going to be the political analyst to join us for that. Now the US is coming. Now the US is not quite coming. What's the latest on that? There is, of course, going to be the issue of that joint declaration. Is that still going to be done? Is South Africa steaming ahead nonetheless? Also, let's catch up with Brown Mugosi. How does someone that shady get so close to the corridors of power? What does that say about the ANC specifically and the fact that this is somebody who was a fixer for them in that way? How does somebody get such intimate details of our policing operations when quite clearly you don't know if he can even string a couple of sentences together in a logical format or process, right? Those are some of the questions we'll put to Sanusha Naidu. 60,000 remand detainees stuck in limbo as the courts struggle to clear backlogs. Imagine spending more time in prison before you're convicted than you would have if you had. Just let that sink in. You're accused of something, and let's say the sentence is, I don't know, the maximum sentence for that might be 2 years, 2 or 3 years. 5 years later, you haven't been to court. You're still a remand detainee. How does that happen? We'll speak to the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development to get to the bottom of that. And I'm so excited because just before 9 o'clock, guest is coming into the studio. Nomza Mombata, Queen Nandi herself, will be here.
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
7:02 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
But before we do anything else, I can already see people wagging fingers in traffic, calling 011 883 0702 saying, where is our song? So here we go. Let's do a G20 version. A one, 2, 3. It's a Friday. It's a Friday. It's a Friday. The G20
Let's
version.
walk the talk.
7:02.
Even Amo was on key, hey? For the G20.
I'm always on key these days. Come on, bongs.
All right, here's a question. You can call us on 011 883 0702. Our shout out, of course, always is used to illustrate something that's in the news that we think you need to pay some attention to. I want to know, how superstitious are you? Do you make decisions based on your intuition? And maybe superstition is not quite the right word, but let's say you're planning for a big event, right? And Murphy's Law strikes. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong. You spill tea on your fancy white blouse that you had saved for this occasion. You can't find your car keys. Your phone falls and breaks. The garage door isn't working. The dog has pooed on your couch. There's traffic, there's a pothole, your tire is flat. Do you start saying, hang on, these are signs that I shouldn't go to this thing, I should postpone my big event? Do you respond to those quote unquote signs? Or are you somebody who steams full ahead? You rush on and you say, hang on, I'm being tested here. My resolve to go to this thing, and it doesn't have to be something you're hosting, by the way. My resolve to go, my resolve to attend is being tested here. I'm going to show how tough I am. The reward will be in seeing this thing through. I'm going to ignore those signs. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to let them get to me. What do you do? Or are you one of those who just simply decides, let me step away from the noise for a little bit. Let me go for a run. Let me soak in the tub. Let me go to a spa and get a massage. Let me meditate and then sort of calm myself down and then figure out what it is I wish to do. How do you handle those situations, Amo?
I am very superstitious, but to things that are personal. For instance, growing up, we were told that if you are swept, if someone is sweeping the floor and they sweep you on your feet by mistake or whatever, you won't get married. That I don't believe. I'm like,
yeah.
If you break a mirror, you shouldn't look at it. I'm not keen
You're
on
not superstitious in that way.
In that way. But if something doesn't go wrong when I'm planning, during the process of planning a big event, something doesn't go wrong, it's a mess for me. I need for something. The geyser must burst. The garage door must stop working just as I'm preparing, not on the day.
Yeah.
Because if that doesn't happen, then something bad is going to happen on the day. Yeah.
So if something bad is going to happen, you'd rather it happens before.
During the process of planning.
Ah, okay. Patel?
With me, it depends. Sometimes it's a cultural thing. How do you respond to something like that? A series of things going wrong. You take stock. You speak with the ancestors. Then you fix the situation. But in a superstition kind of way, I host events.
Yeah.
And every time it rains, like recently,
yes,
the one you came.
Yes.
I spoke to my sister in the morning. I'm like, I'm hosting this event, and I think it's gonna rain. She's like, no, which I can't really explain how you do that.
To aber a shoe.
To aber a shoe, right?
Yes. She'll put a shoe on her back.
But also you can fill up a glass of water and put a plate over it.
Did the shoe fall?
No, because it cleared up that day, if you remember.
It did actually. It did eventually clear up. All right. I mean, I remember being at a family event where a bull or some kind of cow it was an ox actually. It was an ox was about to be slaughtered. And I remember this thing had, it was black and it had these big horns and it just ran away. And eventually, I mean, they got the older guys to come and grab it. And one of the aunties had to speak to it to calm it down. You know what my fear is, Mateo? We're now at the age where I'm going to be the one called to calm the cow down.
Are you ready?
And that aunt never taught us. Nobody teaches you what do you say to the cow to calm it down. Do you know what I mean? I promise you. Watch the space.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
Look, our relationship with Washington continues to go through some bumps in the road. Now the U.S. revoking the former international relations minister, Naledi Pandor's visa. She's just returned, by the way, from the U.S. Just this week. And the Cape Town consulate informing her that if she wishes to go back, she's going to have to apply for a new visa. Whatever it is that they had given her previously has now been revoked. And she says she's not been given any reasons why this is the case. This, of course, as yesterday the president confirmed receiving some note that the U.S. would be sending a delegation after all to the G20 summit. It was, an unbelievable moment. I want you to listen to President Ramaphosa yesterday saying that, in fact, the U.S. had indicated it might reconsider its position and attend the G20.
We have received notice from the United States, a notice which we are still in discussions with them over, about a change of mind about participating in one shape, form or other in the summit. So the discussions are still ongoing. This comes really at the late hour before the summit begins. And so therefore we do need to engage in those types of discussions to see how practical it is and what it finally really means.
What it finally means. Notice the president is not saying Donald Trump himself is coming. He says in whatever shape or form, we're still getting more detail, awaiting more detail from these guys. Because now, all of a sudden, they say they're coming. But then listen to the White House press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, sort of the US's Vincent Magwenya, if you will, saying almost something completely different. And listen to how she frames it, the disrespect with which she says it.
The United States is not participating in official talks at the G20 in South Africa. I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated by the president or his team. The ambassador or the representative of the embassy in South Africa is simply there to recognize that the United States will be the host of the G20. They are receiving that send-off at the end of the event. They are not there to participate in official talks, despite what the South African president is falsely claiming.
Running his mouth off. So that's where we are at the moment. So they've sent some kind of indication that at the very least they'll be there to receive whatever handover must be given, because of course they are the next hosts. But Carolyn Levitt making it clear yesterday that we still ain't coming, babe.
702.
More than a radio station.
Let's walk the talk.
Mateo Kharipa, you've got a question of your own?
Yeah, Bongani, I want to know this morning, have you and a friend or a colleague experienced the same person differently? So they sing their praises and you think, nah, that
yeah. In this very building. Don't make me name names. Don't make me name names. Where this person is absolutely wonderful to some, but an absolute horror to others.
How do you deal with that? Just stay out of their way, or?
Well, I mean, there were both things, I suppose, at one point. Once wonderful and then later not. And so you stay away. What else can you do?
Amu?
Yeah, also in the same building, but you just keep away and you try to avoid.
It's not me, is it?
No.
What you do, Amo, is you don't touch. You stay away.
You stay
away.
Don't
touch.
702.
This EWN weather is brought to you by Samsung. Rain or sunshine. Choose your temperature with Samsung air conditioners.
702.
Weather.
Temperatures today in Gauteng, a partly cloudy Friday in store for the province. Afternoon thunder showers are expected. Temperatures peaking at 27 degrees in Vereeniging and Pretoria, 26 for Jozi, so a little warmer than we've seen most of this last week. Cape Town, also a fine day expected there, peaking at 27. Bloemfontein, 29. Bombela, 24. Durban, cloudy, isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, maxing at 25 degrees. Gqeberha and East London, 24. Kimberley, 32.
At the break of day, the shoreline hums with promise. A cool breeze drifts across the sand. Children laugh in the distance. Umbrellas bloom brightly, and the horizon glimmers with ease. It feels lighter here, fresher, as if summer has been redefined. That's the power of Samsung air conditioners in your home, where innovation meets serenity. Make every day a cooler, smarter summer. Shop at Samsung stores online or speak to your authorized installer.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. It's a Friday, it's a Friday, it's a Friday. This is
Harley
and Papa from
aka Harley.
Block BV Sojanguve, over and out.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Amo, over and out.
Well, out in Parktown, we've got a major incident. A truck has overturned along the Mike 1 North. It's right near Jan Smarts Avenue. It's slowing down traffic at this moment coming out of Boyson's Road. So do expect about a 20-minute hold up there, and try to avoid, if you're heading towards the north of Joburg, please try to use the N1 North instead. While traveling in Bedfordview, an accident scene reported right near Van Buren Road, delays from the Airlines interchange, and then we've got peak time delays at the time of the morning. This is along the N3 North between Marlborough Drive and the Baku interchange. More updates coming up, stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent shuttling his kids, with a back seat full of chatter, laughter, lunchboxes, and lost shoes. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a regular yet special slice of a family's life. Every story's different, and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005, in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
After more than 50 sold-out shows, Universe on Stage duo is back with their new show, The Black Hole Symphony, performed live with the Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra and conducted by Daniel Boyko. This breathtaking, one-of-a-kind exploration of music, science, and cinematic visuals is a symphonic journey through one of nature's greatest enigmas, the black hole. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be taking place 3 performances only from the 27th to 29 November at Wits Linda Auditorium. Tickets available on web tickets.
Smart Steve from Momentum, hello.
Smart Steve, my daughter just turned 18, right? And now she's got a license and a boyfriend.
You're worried about her safety. With Momentum Safety Alert, she can access help 24/7.
Is that the emergency response version of Curry in a Hurry?
For sure. She can get help at the touch of a button for free.
Free? For all that and all?
Visit momentum.co.za or call 0860 006 784. Momentum Insure, keeping you safe on your journey to success. Momentum Insure is an authorized non-life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Pain management is a part of so many people's daily lives. With headaches, muscular pain, dental pain, menstrual pain, and even pain from tension. With Adcock Ingram OTC, build a pain survival pack for you and your family. With a comprehensive treatment range for mild to moderate pain, we have you covered all year round. Available over the counter at your pharmacy. Ask your pharmacist for the Adcock Ingram OTC Pain Survival Pack and visit beprepared365.co.za.
Standard Bank and 702 have joined forces to bring you China Unlocked.
So obviously rooibos is very unique to South Africa, that only grows in South Africa. So it's a real South African treasure that we can share with the rest of the world. And obviously it's a very different tea to the teas that the Chinese are used to. What's interesting now is that the Chinese consumers has given rooibos their own name, and they call it Bosher Cha, which means basically basically the doctor's tea, which we are very happy with because it's so full of health properties. So that definitely helps the sale and, the trust in the product.
Don't miss China Unlocked on 702 Drive with John Perlman. Tuesdays on 702. Brought to you by Standard Bank Business and Commercial, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
702.
Add your voice.
Have your say.
Let's walk the talk.
Hey, Bongani, you killed me this morning. You are at that age where you must be that uncle who talks to the cow. Good luck, my friend. Good luck. How did we get here? Mpoye from Albertine. Thank you for this beautiful show, sir. Thank you.
Start your day with Bongani Bingwa
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
For the struggle is real, hey? And nobody teaches you what to say to the cow. That's the thing. You just watch these aunties and uncles speaking to the cow, but they don't give you that course.
You must ask.
What do you say to the cow? Yeah, no. What you need to know at this hour, Women for Change over the past week have rallied South African social media users to turn their profile photos purple to raise awareness for gender-based violence. Yesterday, the president, of course, saying indeed gender-based violence and femicide is a crisis in this country. And we've got nationwide protests by Women for Change, which are planned. And even the president acknowledging where we find ourselves. I asked you how superstitious you are about things going wrong. Do you steam ahead or do you look for signs to maybe take a pause? Because what on earth is going on with Miss Universe? I mean, it almost feels like this pageant is cursed, right? It's the biggest in the world. It's in trouble yet again. So let's keep count. They've got a new CEO after the predecessor left in June. 2 of the judges resigned just days before it started, one of them accusing the organizers of rigging the outcome. Then we spoke about that Thai director who was hurling racial insults at the contestants, including the reigning Miss Universe. And just the other day, Adam Gilchrist told us about one of the contestants who fell and hurt herself quite badly, fell off stage during a rehearsal and is still in hospital. And that's why I just thought, let me just ask you, do you keep going when things just go nagalanje everywhere? Chamors. Do you steam ahead or do you say, hang on, maybe it is a sign? It is expected, of course, that our own Melissa Naimuli will be flying our flag high at Miss Universe. The U.S. President Donald Trump has hit back at a half a dozen members of Congress who had previously served in the military or intelligence in the U.S. This after some of them posted a video telling service members now not to obey illegal orders. Trump tweeted on his, or posted, I should rather say, on his platform Truth Social that this was seditious behavior punishable by death. I mean, that's the kind of guy you're dealing with. He's almost saying now he's almost calling for his political opponents to be executed. The countdown for Australia's social media ban for teenagers has begun. From 10 December, social media companies will have to take reasonable steps to ensure that if you're under 16 in Australia, you cannot use any of their platforms to set up an account. And if you have one, it must be removed or deactivated. So no more 14-year-olds on Snapchat or Instagram. It was on this day, 1976, the sports action film Rocky, directed by one John Avildsen, and of course starring Sly Stallone, premiered in New York. It went on to win an Oscar for Best Picture the following year. There have since been 5 more Rocky movies in the franchise, 3 more in the reboot Creed. Hey, sequels. I think we're at Fast and Furious number what now? 45.
Close.
Are there sequels or franchises that work? Are there new ones that you're into now? And are there ones that you think, leave it alone now?
I think that one particularly worked.
Which one? Creed?
The transition from Rocky to Creed, the storyline, that definitely.
Do you want a Creed 4? Or has Creed done what it needed to do now?
I think it's done.
Now You See Me, Now You Don't? The third one has a whole South African angle to it. No? Muteo's shaking his head. He's not speaking on the mic. Not everyone's watching on YouTube, my friend.
That one doesn't work.
Thank you.
702.
The newspapers.
All right, Sfiso Zulu, we've got our own little franchise here every day with the newspapers.
Right, it continues. It's a sequel that goes on every day. One of the stories that we're looking at that are happening internationally, Bongani, is President Donald Trump's other peace plan. This time is about ending the war between Ukraine and Russia. It's a 28-point draft proposal. And I will just outline, as the Associated Press has outlined some of the plans that are included in that draft. The first one is Ukraine's sovereignty will be confirmed. And the second one is going to be a comprehensive non-aggression agreement that will be concluded between Russia, Ukraine, and Europe. And it's also expected that Russia will not invade neighboring countries, and not just Ukraine, but other neighboring countries, and NATO will not be extended further, meaning that Ukraine will not form part of NATO. It can't even apply to continue asking to form part of NATO. So those are some of the points that are in Trump's proposal to end the war between Ukraine and Russia.
Does that tell you it all then could have been avoided? And isn't that what we have been saying, that they provoked Russia? And now, is that an admission? Mail and Guardian, South Africa's big moment. All eyes on Ramaphosa as the G20 summit kicks off this weekend. Sowetan much the same, South Africa's big test. Business Day, Investec declaring war in corporate mid-market. They're going after small business owners and trying to take them away from the mainstream banks. The Citizen, they've gone purple this morning. I won't let you kill me. Their focus is on GBV.
EWN Business.
All right, Muteo wants to know, you have a friend or a colleague you think is amazing. Other people think they're the very devil. You don't see them differently. What prompts the question?
Bongani, US President Donald Trump has been quite scathing about the US's involvement in this year's G20 meetings. The US formally warned South Africa against pushing for a joint statement at this weekend's Group of 20 summit. The diplomatic standoff is particularly awkward, given that it's the first time the continent is hosting the G20 and that the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is passing the baton to the US President Donald Trump at the end of this weekend's meeting. Now, on the business end of things, the US has been very much involved in this year's activities. Gary Littman, president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the leader of the Business 20 group meetings for 2026, was in attendance at the B20 summit in Sandton this week and received its recommendations yesterday. Now, in a panel discussion at the summit in Sandton, Littman said business people have very common views, making developing recommendations very, very easy. Littman was also quite generous with his views, saying the ambition, sophistication and knowledge of South African business was incredible. Now, this contrasts with the difficult state of affairs between Pretoria and Washington, with the US warning South Africa this week that it would block any outcome framed as a consensus at the G20 position.
Generous or patronizing?
No, he was quite generous.
What else would they be but knowledgeable and expert at what they do? He thought he'd landed where? Dark Africa? I don't know. Maybe I'm more cynical than you are, my friend. Where's the rand?
Maybe you are. 17 Rand 24 against the US dollar, 19 Rand 90 against the euro, and at 22 Rand 56 cents against the British pound. Price of gold at $4,053 an ounce, while platinum is at $1,509. Brent crude now at $62.43 a barrel. More business after 7:30.
All right, Swiss Zulu, is that the news desk? What you got?
Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. Several world leaders have already arrived for this weekend's G20 Leaders Summit, with Vietnam Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh arriving this morning. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to touch down on South African soil later this afternoon. And leaders who've already touched down in Joburg include Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, as well as European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The leaders from the world's largest economies have descended in Johannesburg, despite the absence of the US, which will take over the G20 presidency from South Africa. Babalondenza reports.
The G20 Leaders Summit will start in earnest tomorrow and will end on Sunday where members are expected to come up with a declaration after months of meetings discussing several issues affecting the globe. The G20, or Group of 20, is an intergovernmental forum comprising 19 sovereign countries, the European Union and the African Union. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is also in attendance and will hold a press conference today ahead of the summit. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said yesterday, shortly after landing, that the G20 is one of the most important world gatherings.
It's the most important gathering for which Australia is a member. It represents 85% of the global economy, 75% of global trade. 1 in 4 of Australia's jobs depends upon trade.
President Cyril Ramaphosa, meanwhile, said the G20 process is moving ahead decisively, with or without the United States, after US President Donald Trump threatened to block the adoption of any joint declaration. Babalo Ndense, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
The NPA says it will support the extradition of alleged paedophile teacher Ian Wares back to the UK. Wares is fighting his extradition to Scotland to face sexual and physical abuse charges against him. The more than 90 charges relate to sexual crimes he allegedly committed against more than 60 boys during his time as a teacher there. He also faces separate similar charges in a local trial that's currently running in the Wynberg Magistrates Court. Ntutuzelo Nene reports.
Ian Wares is opposing his extradition, and the matter has been through various South African courts, including his application to the Constitutional Court to halt the process. He made a brief appearance in the Simonstown Magistrates Court yesterday on a UK extradition warrant, and the matter has been postponed to January next year. NPA spokesperson Eric Ndabazalila.
We are trying to fight to ensure that he is extradited back to the United Kingdom, where he needs to face the courts.
Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
With governments now moving to classify gender-based violence and femicide as a national crisis, advocacy group Women for Change has described this as a step in the right direction. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced yesterday that government will soon reclassify gender-based violence and femicide as a national crisis. Women for Change is leading a nationwide protest this morning, calling for urgent action to address the abuse of women and children. One of the group's key demands had been for government to declare gender-based violence and femicide a state of disaster. With the reclassification process now underway, Women for Change says today's protest will shift its focus to honouring and remembering those who have lost their lives.
The process is moving really quickly. We had an amazing meeting where they described to us what the classification is going to look like, but we've finally got what we were asking for. And tomorrow we were going to stand and memorialize the women who have died along the way, whose voices were not heard.
And there's been a fire inside the UN Climate Summit venue in Brazil, burning through the roof. The fire engulfed pavilions in the summit site in Belém yesterday afternoon, torching a hole through its fabric ceiling, sparking a rush for the exit as smoke filled the corridors and people were crying fire. It was the third major incident since the COP30 negotiations started last week in the Amazon region after protesters stormed the venue and later blocked the entrance in peaceful demonstrations. Security responded swiftly and the blaze was controlled in roughly 6 minutes as COP to host Brazil continues to continue with the events. And the Brazilian presidency of the event says that 19 people have been treated for smoke inhalation and 2 for anxiety. A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng with afternoon thunder showers expected today. The temperatures are at lows of 13 and 15 degrees, peaking at highs between 26 and 27.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North. This is between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu interchange. While traveling on the Mike 1 North, we still have got that major accident scene that happened right near Jan Smuts Avenue. It is slowing down traffic coming out of Boysons Road.
The top story this hour, Vietnam's Prime Minister has arrived in South Africa to join several world leaders for this weekend's G20 summit.
Hey guys, this is Robert Marawa, HollywoodBet's brand ambassador. Playing responsibly is part of the winning strategy. Make smart choices and continue to score. If you or someone that you know needs help, call the South African Responsible Gambling Toll-Free Counseling Line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Hollywood Sportsbook is a a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop.
Progress builds. It moves, and it has a partner. That partner is Anglo-American. Together, we're building progress where it matters most across South Africa. With a 1 billion rand investment into education in our host communities, $15 million pledged to the Global Fund to support community-based health services, 1.6 billion rand in deals facilitated through our Impact Finance Network. And as a sponsor of B20 and G20, we're bringing that same spirit of partnership to a global stage, proving that when collaboration is real, progress moves faster. South Africa has a partner. Join the conversation on social media. Anglo-American, mining potential, building beyond.
As leaders in renewable energy finance, Nedbank has a track record spanning over 100 years. From pioneering large-scale solar and wind farms to financing complex energy infrastructure in emerging markets, Nedbank offers clients deep sector expertise, combined with the ability to navigate the unique challenges of Africa's just energy transition. See money differently. Nedbank. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Morning, Bongani team. I honestly don't know now why our president, why he doesn't just forget about US. Really, if it is that we will starve because we don't have relationship with them, I think we better starve. Starve lapping once. Rather than him being disrespected by a young girl like that, our president, he's an elderly anyway. I think that girl is 25 years old who talks like this. They were taught wrong by their president. And I actually wonder what the future is holding for them. That girl is very young. You can hear, even when she talks, I don't know if she has been sent to say that, but this is utter nonsense, really.
Good morning, Bongani. I just want to say that I like how President Cyril Ramaphosa handled, quote unquote, the boycott by the US of the G20 here in South Africa. I read a report where it said the government wasn't going to go to the US to hand over the declaration. If the Americans wanted the declaration, they were going to have to come here and get it. And I see that they are sending people to come and get it because our government said, no, you are not coming, fine. Declaration you'll come and get here in South Africa. We are not going to fly over to the US to come and get it. So I like it very much. It's Guy and Gatlong. Thanks.
And we simply move on, right? What's that song? With or without you, U2 once said.
EWN Sport.
Ha 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 ha. I feel such a sense of satisfaction. Anthony Teixeira, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's lunch on the first day of the Ashes. Already there's been drama. Mm-hmm. How many wickets have fallen?
4 down.
Before lunch?
Yeah.
Not exciting?
Very exciting.
Come on. Come on. I feel a sense of vindication. All right, tell us how it's going. Who has the morning session belong to?
Really, it's been the hosts, Australia, that have dominated the first session of the Ashes opener. England reaching 105 for 4 after winning the toss and electing to bat first. But really, it was Mitchell Starc who did the damage early on. He took 3 of the top 4 wickets. Zach Crawley, Joe Root, both gone for ducks. Ben Duckett also gone LBW for 21. Then Cam Green brought an end to Ollie Pope, who looked in great form. He was gone for 46. Second session will start with Harry Brook at the crease on 28 alongside English captain Ben Stokes, who's on 4. For the Proteas, they're preparing to play India in the second test starting Saturday. Proteas bowling coach Pete Botha says they'd like to win the toss.
If the pitch is going to play decently for the first 2 days, then you obviously want to bat first, and hopefully then the wicket does crumble up a bit and spin later on. And that's the reason you will want to bat first, so you can get those conditions later on and play to your advantage. So I think in principle, 90% of the time you'll look to bat first if you can.
Zimbabwe won the T20 against Sri Lanka by 67 runs. Raza, player of the match after scoring 47 and taking 1 for 23. In rugby, Rassie Erasmus will hand RG Snyman a 50th Test cap Saturday when he comes off the bench at the Aviva Stadium against Ireland. He becomes the third member of this touring squad to reach a milestone after Erasmus took control of a 50th game and Siya Kolisi became a Centurion.
It would have been lovely to let him start the match. I think he also loves to start. He also loves to play as long as he can. Most players do. And he knows his role off the bench. We did have a quick chat about, listen, it's your 50th game. Do you matter playing off the bench? No problem. He totally understand. It's just, two of the other locks not available. And one injured. He's obviously going to be in the team. And that is first and foremost grateful for.
The squad announcement also sees Cheslin Colby and Kobus Reinach both move to 49 caps. In football, DR Congo secured an automatic berth into the Interconfederation FIFA World Cup playoffs final thanks to their higher standings in the recent world rankings. They await the winner of New Caledonia and Jamaica. While in tennis, Germany became the last nation to reach the Davis Cup semi-final. They beat Argentina 2-1 to set up a meeting against Spain. The Spaniards had earlier in the day fought from losing the first singles match to win 2-1 against Czechia. And F1 is live in Las Vegas with FP2 underway. In FP1, we did see the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc quickest. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
Smart Steve from Momentum, hello.
How's it, Butch? It's Jason here, your favourite gymfluencer.
Jason, still lifting more than your selfie stick?
Always, Butch. Got to stay shredded, eh? But, I'm worried about one thing. What if a major illness hits? Who's got my back?
Relax, Jason. Momentum's critical illness cover is your spotter. It offers the most comprehensive cover in the market.
Woody, I'm signing up faster than I could do 10 reps. But I'm worried about something else, eh?
Let me guess. How many protein shakes it takes before you turn into the incredible bulk?
No, man. Will anyone notice if I skip a leg day?
Chat to your financial advisor about Momentum's critical illness cover. Momentum, protecting your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Hi, this is Carol Shabalala, Hollywood Bet's brand ambassador. It's more fun when it's for fun. Playing responsibly is always a winning strategy. If you or someone you know needs help, call the South African Responsible Gambling toll-free counseling line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop.
As South Africa assumes the G20 presidency in 2025, 702 and Standard Bank Group bring you exclusive conversations with the voices shaping Africa's economic future.
All African countries borrow on international markets. And if through this particular G20 agenda, we can encourage a situation where African countries find themselves with lower cost debt, then of course it enhances fiscal metrics and fiscal sustainability. Another area of commonality is related to resources. The continent is resource rich, whether it is base, precious metals, or even rare earth metals.
Brought to you by Standard Bank Group on 702. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
The Brainy Kids of the Whisquas
on 702.
Hi, my name is Sandile. I am 10 years old. I go to Macaulay House. When I grow up, I want to be a scientist. I am excited to play the Whiz Quiz with Uncle Bongani.
We can't wait to play with you too, Sandile. 10,000 Rand could be yours.
702.
Coming up at 7:15, the big interview.
EWN Traffic.
Right, the CWN Traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask for 500 Rand. Amo?
Well, Bongani, on the M1 North, we're still dealing with those delays coming out of Boyson's Road, about a 30-minute hold up. And this is due to that truck that overturned earlier, and it is causing these delays. So please be on the lookout there and try to avoid. You can still use off ramps towards areas like Parktown as well as Harton to try and avoid this. And if you're traveling through the CBD, it's best if you use Joe Slovo Drive. While traveling on the N3 North, we've got bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is between the Elans interchange and the Kalulis interchange due to an accident. There's also queuing traffic approaching the R24 merge on the N12 West. Please stay tuned. We'll have more updates coming up.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The outsurance pointsmen can't help with your job interview, but they can ease traffic congestion so you get there in time to be cool, calm, and collected. With the outsurance pointsmen on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get to where we need to be quickly and safely. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Part of the 702 family.
My name is Iwet Machinya Tsimbi. I'm from Deep Blue Phase 3. I've listened to 702 since 1980, when it was still Channel 702, when it was still a music radio station. Till today, I still listen to this station. I get the information from this station. I get empowered. I get to be informative. Thank you, 702, and keep on rocking.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
To sell or not to sell, that's the question. Whether selling a car, bike, boat, or bakkie, WeBuyCars offers instant payment and a stress-free experience. Simply complete the form on webuycars.co.za for the best offer. Trading in or shopping for your next ride, explore over 12,000 vehicles online or visit WeBuyCars in store. Whether buying or selling, head to WeBuyCars today.
You can become a victim of a legal problem, wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Coming up in the next hour, What's the Question? Brought to you by Outsurance. 3,000 Rand is up for grabs. 1,000 Rand for the answer. You WhatsApp us your name based on anything you heard on the show to 072 702 1702. Then later someone asks a question to win 2,000 Rand. SMS out to 451442 now, and Outsurance could save you on your car insurance.
Who is the wizziest of them all?
It's the Whiz Quiz on 702.
Right, let's give away some cash, shall we? Sandile is 10 years old, wants to be a scientist, goes to Macaulay House. And Sandile, of course, as you know, it's not about the money. How many answers do you think you can get right?
8. Probably.
Hopefully. Okay, and which one is your strongest? Is it the spelling? Is it the counting? Which one is your strongest?
It's knowledge about space and animals.
Okay, well, good luck to you, Sandile. Okay. Fingers crossed.
Yes, I am.
Okay. KG, start the clock. What is 15 plus 15?
30.
Correct. From which province is the soccer team Orlando Pirates?
Soweto.
Which province is the soccer team Orlando Pirates?
South Africa.
It's from Gauteng. In movies, the abbreviation PG stands for what guidance?
Parental guidance.
Correct. Complete the saying, the bigger they are, the harder they what?
It gets.
4. True or false? A boomerang is a curved piece of wood that returns when you throw it.
True.
Correct. What is the skin of animals called? Is it a pelt or is it plumage?
Pass.
It's a pelt. Give the third letter in the word 18.
G.
Correct. True or false? There are more than 20 streets on a Monopoly board.
Pass.
It is true. It is true. Sandile, sometimes take your chances, hey? If it's true or false, guess which one. You might be 50% right. But not bad. At 10 years old, I would have killed to have 400 Rand, hey? 400 Rand is not a bad amount to get. You've got 4 correct answers. Well done, Sandile.
The brainy kids of the Whiz Quiz
On 702.
702.
The Political Desk.
The Political Desk looks back on the week that was, and goodness me, what a big one it is for South Africa. All eyes on us at the moment. Sanusha Naidu is our guest this morning from the Institute for Global Dialogue, a senior research fellow. Always a pleasure to have you on our show. Let's start with the latest as far as the Americans are concerned. Now they're coming, now they're not. Now they're sort of coming, well, no, actually not quite. What's the latest you know?
Good morning, Bongani. Good morning to the listeners. Well, the latest that we have heard is that this accreditation or this kind of presence that they're talking about is not really coming from Washington. It's actually the embassy that they want to come. The charge d'affaires wants to come and with a delegation from the embassy to attend on the last day. So that's the day where the president will hand over to the next president of the G20. And of course now we hear that as of late last night that that President Ramaphosa says he will not hand over to a delegation that is not of a high level. So this is another interesting dynamic. At this point in time, we just don't know what's going on, but this is a delegation that's coming from the embassy, and it's not from Washington, from what I could gather.
In a sense, this is the business and politics World Cup. All eyes on South Africa. How are we doing so far?
Well, I think the fact that we saw leaders from countries flying in, the big South Africa-EU bilateral that happened yesterday, the fact that you're seeing, even if heads of state are not coming in, you've got, for example, the Premier of China here. I think it does say that South Africa does have, I wouldn't say, it's being taken very seriously in the context that this is a G20 summit, and it's being respected in that way. So, when you want to talk about it in the context of business and politics, I think it shows, and some people may not agree with this statement, but it shows that South Africa does have the ability to host it. What happens afterwards, the impact, and all, we can dissect that. But I think it shows that South Africa has stuck to what has been the theme, has stuck to the dynamics of what the G20 is. And of course, you may not always get the kind of agreement in the meetings, the side meetings with regard to the Sherpa track and the finance track. But the fact of the matter is that it's happening, and you can't basically try and derail it right now.
One of the things that I think has become quite clear that the Trump administration continues to attack multilateralism, and that in a sense perhaps we were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Is that how you see this ultimately?
Well, I think with the second Trump presidency, it's all linked as well to this Project 25, how they were going to basically position themselves domestically and globally. And of course, the contradiction of attacking multilateralism is that you can attack it, but you can't dictate it. And that's what's really happening with the Trump presidency, is that it doesn't like multilateralism, or it doesn't see multilateralism as a viable global architecture and so forth, because it doesn't really play into their playbook. But at the same time, you saw that verbal note that came out from the embassy saying, well, we warn you, we caution you, so to speak, paraphrasing, that you don't issue a declaration because we're not there. So it's kind of very curious that you don't like multilateralism, but you still want to dictate the terms of it.
You want your cake and to eat it too. More to domestic matters now, Sanusha. I'm curious because, of course, you're usually based in KwaZulu-Natal. We watched violence monitor Mary de Haas, I suppose that's really what I can call her now, a long time voice of credibility in this space, particularly when it comes to political killings in KZN. That task team being disbanded, as we know, where are we on that matter in terms of intra and even interpolitical party violence in that province?
I haven't been in KZN for a long time, so I will be a little bit...
I do apologize. I was so sure.
No, I've been living out of the province for more than 20 years now. But the thing is, these issues that you are raising around the political violence and the kind of structural conditions and what's going on in the province and how that has actually deepened, I think goes back way many years. We saw this pre-94. We even saw it during the apartheid era. And of course, it hasn't really been able to be addressed in a manner that deals with some of the internal challenges there. So I don't want to be talking about the situation that I'm not close to, but just looking from afar, I think the challenges around that it's very embedded into the political DNA of the province and into the way in which that plays out in terms of political power, political control, challenges across particular different divides. And I think it's a province that really, needs to be looked at in a much more holistic way than just about one particular dynamic.
All right, I think we'll keep an eye, obviously, on developments there. Peace for now, for the most part, but as you say, it is never far away from being explosive. Appreciate your time. Sanusha Naidu is from the Institute for Global Dialogue.
702.
Coming up, the big interview.
So here's a question. Did we not do away with detention without trial post-94? So then why are more than 60,000 detainees behind bars without trial?
This is EWN.
The country gears up for demonstrations to highlight gender-based violence, and Ramaphosa says South Africa is not handing over the G20 presidency to a junior US official. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Thousands of people are this morning preparing to take part in a nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and femicide. Non-profit organization Women for Change is spearheading the demonstrations ahead of the G20 Leaders Summit to make their voices heard. In Johannesburg, participants will gather at the Constitutional Hill in Braamfontein. Ntokozo Khumalo is there.
The nation goes purple today as part of the call to end gender-based violence and a plea for government to take the scourge seriously. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced yesterday that GBVF will be reclassified as a national crisis. According to the latest statistics, a third of the country's female population over the age of 18 has experienced physical violence, with more than 2 million women having experienced sexual violence. Women for Change will be demonstrating at several locations today. Demonstrators are urged to wear black as a sign of grief for all the women who have died. They have also been urged to lie down for 15 minutes, each minute representing the women who are killed on a daily basis in the country. Ntokozo Khumalo, Eyewitness News, Constitutional Hill.
Tensions between South Africa and the US appear far from easing, with the presidency firmly noting that the president will not be handing over the G20 presidency to a deputy ambassador. Ramaphosa yesterday announced that Washington was reconsidering its decision to skip this weekend's G20 summit, but Trump's administration swiftly moved to dismiss his remarks. Last night, the US government clarified that none of its top leaders will be attending the summit, but instead a consular delegation will receive the G20 presidency. Afra Mushwana reports.
From International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola saying the world can function with or without the United States.
We view it as non-attendance. They are absent.
To President Cyril Ramaphosa insisting that South Africa will not be bullied by Washington.
There should be no bullying of one nation by another nation.
Recent days have shown that diplomatic relations between the two countries remain strained. Last night, U.S. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt issued a sharp rebuke to Ramaphosa, accusing him of spreading fake news about Washington reconsidering its decision to skip the G20 summit.
I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated.
She's confirmed the United States has instead decided to send representatives from its embassy. However, in a post on social media platform X, presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya insists that Ramaphosa will not hand over the G20 presidency to a deputy ambassador. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Former International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor says she has no idea why what may have influenced the decision by the US to revoke her visa, but she says she's aware of a lobby against her that has been writing to the United States government trying to stop her from entering the country. Pandor returned from the US this week to an email from the Cape Town consulate informing her that she may no longer use her visitor's visa issued to her last year and would have to reapply. And she says she was not offered reasons for why the visa has been retracted. Lindsay Dentlinga reports.
Since retiring from active politics, Pandor has travelled to the United States twice this year, largely to meet with the organisation Justice for All, which is focused on the situation of Palestinians in Gaza.
And also comparing their situation with the experience of Black South Africans under apartheid.
She also addressed the United Nations on International Nelson Mandela Day in July. For now, Pandor says she's undecided as to whether she will reapply for another US visa.
I'm still thinking through whether there is any merit in me reapplying and having an interview. I don't know what the content of that might be.
Former member of the Jewish Board of Deputies and attorney Lawrence Novozenitz is among those who have written to the US government claiming Pandor aligned herself with pro-Palestinian states, Iran and Qatar during her tenure as minister. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
National Police Divisional Commissioner and Head of Procurement Molefe Fani has admitted that a 360 million rand tender awarded to suspected underworld figure Vusmuzi Cat Matlala should have been disqualified. Fani has also confirmed that they did not conduct a criminal background check on Matlala, who scored the massive medical services tender despite having criminal convictions and pending charges. Fani made the confessions yesterday while giving evidence before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption. Babalondenza reports.
Molefe Fani concluded his evidence yesterday, where he was grilled by MPs and the evidence leaders about whether he saw any red flags when Vusmuzi Cat Matlala's company was shortlisted for the tender. Fani was questioned by MPs about the tender award, despite Matlala's criminal past. Fani told MPs that ideally, Matlala's Medicare 24 should have been disqualified after certain documents were tampered with.
One of the tender requirements that we have is that the submitted schedules should not be changed or altered in any form. If they have been altered, this should have been a disqualification.
Fani also conceded that other irregularities were picked up in the tender around the shortening of the advertising period, and action will be taken against implicated officials.
It was an administrative error from my people, and they will be disciplined with regards to that.
Matlala is expected to appear before the committee next week. Babalondenza, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $4,074.74 an ounce. The rand is at 17.23 to the dollar, 22.53 to the pound, 19.86 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $62.54 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 North. This is between the Golden Highway and the Deep Kloof interchange. While traveling on the Mark 1 North, bumper-to-bumper traffic on between Boysons Road and Jan Smuts Avenue, and that's due to that earlier incident we spoke about.
And in your sport, the Australian Quicks have done the damage as they took the top order of England before lunch, as the English reached 105 for 4 in their first innings. Springboks returned to the squad that beat France 2 weeks ago with only 2 minor changes, and Mamelodi Sundowns will begin their CAF Champions League group stage.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng with afternoon thundershowers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: thousands of people are this morning preparing to take part in a nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and femicide.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes after 7 o'clock, you're listening to 702 Breakfast on this Friday, the 21st of November, the year of our Lord 2025. All eyes on South Africa, as of course South Africa hosts the G20. Not all the leaders of the largest nations in the world have touched down, but many sending very high-level delegations. Many heads of state are in fact in Johannesburg at the moment. And tensions between South Africa and the US, Washington and Pretoria, not easing at the moment. Yesterday, we were told the US had a change of mind and they were looking for a way to attend the summit. Last night, the US government clarified that it won't be top leaders coming, but really a consular delegation to receive the handover of the G20 presidency on the last day. Well, President Ramaphosa is having none of that. He's not going to be handing it over to junior officials, and he has said he himself is not going to be in Washington. That's the latest we understand. But nonetheless, events are going to continue. Yesterday, the president focusing very much on the wide range of voices that are going to come together at the G20 summit, and he says that is what we want to focus on now.
There are some who have dubbed what we are doing through the G20 summit by holding a number of other G meetings that we are having, a G100, a G1000, and that is true. We are having a G million because we are about inclusiveness, bringing people together, and this summit is possibly the best of all the G summits that we are going to have. So I want to applaud you. I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank you for your contributions, which I hear have ended up with a beautiful declaration. Beautiful things are happening in South Africa.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
The other story, of course, to keep an eye on is the march this morning, this shutdown against gender-based violence and femicide. The president also acknowledging that that is a particular ill our society is facing.
We do have a challenge of gender-based violence, and the women of our country are crying out that they need much more focus on the issue of gender-based violence. They need protection, they need support, and they need assistance, largely from their government as well as from the men of South Africa. And it is for this reason that we've said, we, in recognizing the plight of our women, we're now going to classify gender-based violence and femicide as a crisis that needs to be addressed. We have agreed among all social partners that we need to take extraordinary and concerted action using every means at our disposal to end this crisis.
How different is it from what the president was saying in 2018? Do you remember when there was a gender-based violence summit? I'll never forget the visual where he was seated next to then Speaker of the National Assembly, Baleka Mbete, and one of the victims of gender-based violence quite literally disrobed in front of the president to show her the scars that were remaining on her body after years of abuse. And it was so awful to watch, to see. The president couldn't bear, and he had to avert his eyes. That was in 2018. Where are we now in 2025? I wonder how different what he said yesterday is from what he said then. Let's also bring you up to speed with the various processes that are underway to investigate all sorts of ills in South Africa. I'll start yesterday in Parliament at the ad hoc committee investigating alleged criminality in law enforcement, and at issue was with the South African Police Supply Chain Head, Lieutenant General Molefe Fani, about the contracts that Vusumuzi Cat Matlala secured from the police, including, of course, that 360 million rand tender, and what was the process of vetting him. The question really was, how does somebody who had criminal convictions win a multi-million rand tender from the police? How come nobody saw what was going on?
Your office is a breach to the security of the South African Police Service.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, it's quite simple. You allowed a criminal to get a 360 million rand contract in the South African Police Service.
It's not allowing. It's not true.
You did. How else? You didn't vet him. He was flagged. He didn't comply with the majority of the relevant things he was meant to comply with. That was found in 2 different audits. There were fraudulent signatures on medical certificates. So, General, you allowed it, whether willingly or not.
I have indicated that the adjudication committee looked at the information at their disposal. I have to concede that irregularities were picked up. It is not a deliberate act that we wanted that company to come and operate in the South African Police Service. The process that was followed In fact, if you look at the process was correct, but there are steps in the process that were not done correctly.
Ian Cameron, of course, the DA MP there, chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police, challenging Lieutenant General Molefe Fani, saying you are a gateway for corruption. This wasn't simple oversight, a slip, 360 million rand as a contract by the police to a convicted criminal, and nobody saw. Come on.
702. Up next.
The big interview.
EWN Traffic.
It's 7:15. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. SAA now operates 2 flights a day to Gaborone with morning and afternoon departures. Book now at flysaa.com.
Well, Bongani, if you're traveling on some of the roads in the east this morning, we already have got those G20 road closures. As we speak, the N3 North has been closed off to traffic. This is between the Glulies interchange all the way towards Marlborough Drive. The R24 as well as the N12 West is also closed right at the merge. And if you're traveling in Kempton Park, specifically towards the OR Tambo Airport, the road has been closed off to traffic. This is between Atlas Road and Fort Drucker Road. I'll give you more updates with these road closures as we go through the day. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Experience Johannesburg to Gaborone with comfort and ease. South African Airways offers premium service, convenient connections, and flight times that work for your schedule. Choose between morning and afternoon departures and enjoy comfort, convenience, and warm South African hospitality that SAA is known for. For a limited time only, fly to Gaborone from 2,762 Rand, all-inclusive return. This fare is valid for sale until 4 December 2025. Book now at flysaa.com. T's and C's apply.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS LEGAL to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
If you want a versatile SUV that's smart, efficient, and seriously advanced, meet the all-new BYD Sea Lion 5 plug-in hybrid. It's the affordable SUV that gives you electric power for your everyday trips, fuel-powered backup for your longer drives, and premium tech everywhere you look. The BYD Sea Lion 5 is packed with cutting-edge technology, from advanced driver assist safety features to the groundbreaking DMI technology. The BYD Sea Lion 5 makes every drive smarter. Visit www.byd.com and pre-book your test drive today. BYD, build your dreams.
Let's live more. Bring your daydreams to life with Norwegian Cruise Line, sailing to over 400 exciting destinations around the world on 21 spectacular ships. Explore iconic landmarks in Europe, hop islands in the Caribbean, and much more. When it comes to dream holidays, think NCL. For the best cruise deals, visit ncl.com or contact your travel agent. Restrictions apply.
702.
The big interview
with Bongani Bingwa.
19 minutes after 7 o'clock. What are you in for? I didn't do anything. I'm innocent. That is likely the most common question and answer exchanged behind bars, is it not? At least in the movies. But what if it is true? Imagine being locked up for 10 years without ever going to trial. It's a reality for some South Africans today. Wait, but didn't we end detention without trial? So then, how do you explain the more than 60,000 people who are living this nightmare? They're not convicted of anything, but they're awaiting trial detainees stuck in limbo inside overcrowded prisons because the justice system simply cannot get them to court. Some, and here's the kicker, some have spent longer in remand than the maximum sentence they could have received if convicted of what they're accused of. In other words, say the maximum sentence for the crime for which you're accused is, 3 years. Some of these guys have been there 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Even if they get to court, they've spent more time than a sentence would have given them if found guilty. It really is quite unbelievable. Apart from that, of course, cells built for 20 hold 60, 70 inmates. You can imagine how disease spreads and hope just fades. Now, we invited the Deputy Director General of Court Administration in the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, Lucky Muhalaba, to join us. And he's not picking up his phone this morning. And these things happen. Maybe his phone is on silent. Maybe he misplaced it. Maybe he forgot that he agreed to this interview. Maybe poor guy is waiting for it to ring and it just isn't ringing because there's no signal. No matter, this is an issue we will revisit because I think it is an important one. In the meantime, perhaps we can give you more detail, in case you missed it, of what unfolded in Parliament yesterday. Remember, the other inquiry we've been keeping an eye on is the one looking at the Road Accident Fund. In fact, we spoke to SCOPA chairperson Songezo Zibi just the other day. And so yesterday, there were more questions to be asked about how the Road Accident Fund. They spoke to Mpho Manyasha, who is the acting chief corporate support officer at RAF, and challenged her to name some of the fund's core values. And of course, all of this in the context of whether or not the fund does meet them to begin with. Have a listen to this exchange.
The values of the Road Accident Fund. It's integrity, it is compassion, it is accountability, it is respect. The last one is empathy, excellence. Well done. What do you understand about compassion? Compassion, Chair, means having deep care for the person that you are dealing with. And that's why I want to explain, Chair, that these ICARE values that we came up with really took into consideration the claimant. They are for the claimant and not for us, because we thought the claimant, really we understand the pain of the claimant where we are sitting, and that's why this ICARE squared, and the last E was for the empathy. Don't try and work out where I'm going.
All right, so remember, of course, we play only truncated versions of these exchanges. Otherwise, we'd be here all day too, and only broadcasting them, but giving you a sense of the gist of it. There, you're hearing at the end the chairperson challenging Mpho Manyasha to not try and work out where the line of the questioning is going, but to simply answer the questions being posed to her. And he continued questioning Mpho, this time asking her to define empathy.
What do you understand about what empathy is? Empathy, Chair, is putting yourself in the shoes of the other person and understanding their pain deeply. Can you put yourself in the shoes of Honorable Beasley's mother? Definitely, Chair. If Honorable Beasley's mother needs up to 100,000 rand to even be considered, would you say that's compassionate and empathetic? And Honorable Beasley's mother has 2 broken legs, comes from a village, and doesn't know what an actuary is. Is it your contention that the way you guys are doing things and designing this system, that all of us want it to work, it's compassionate and is empathetic to the most vulnerable members of society?
Up to 100,000 rand you need before they can even consider your claim. So many of the people who need money from the Road Accident Fund have to jump through so many hoops that are unclear. And this is quite apart, of course, from how long matters may languish in litigation. I mean, we've heard that some of these matters will only be scheduled for court in 2032. And that depends entirely on whether or not they are opposed. If they are, the process then starts again. So you could be delayed for as long as 8 years in some instances. Really quite unbelievable. The other process has to be the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Yesterday, again, Brown Mukhotsi under fire, and this time being directly questioned by the chair of that inquiry, Justice Madlanga himself. Have a listen to these admissions.
I understand you to say you deliberately told this lie for a specific purpose, correct? Correct, Commissioner. You told this lie under oath, correct? Correct, Commissioner. Now, do you consider an oath to be binding on your conscience? I consider it, Commissioner. But in the affidavit I've referred to, you told a lie and you took an oath well knowing that part of the content of that affidavit was a lie, correct? Correct, but I was on duty in executing my duties, Commissioner. But it's correct that as you took the oath, you knew, even as you took the oath, that you were lying in that affidavit, correct? Correct, to achieve the objective of the mission, Commissioner. But it's correct that you took the oath knowing that you were lying. It's true, Commissioner. That's correct.
Brad Mukhosi there admitting under very pointed questioning by the chair of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry that essentially he lied repeatedly, his affidavit was full of lies, and he wrote it and submitted it and took an oath knowing it was all untrue because, of course, he had a particular mission. As I said, we wanted to tell you about the 60,000 people living in the nightmare of detention without trial. And there are all sorts of reasons: missing documents, legal representatives changing, witnesses being absent. All of these then cause bottlenecks within the system. And sometimes it's for the simple reason they cannot afford bail even if they've been offered that chance. And so they languish behind bars. But unfortunately for us this morning, the Deputy Director General of Court Administration at Justice and Constitutional Development, Lucky Charles Mohalaba, who had agreed to speak to us, is not picking up.
EWN Traffic.
27 after 7, the CWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. SAA now operates 2 flights a day to Gaborone with morning and afternoon departures. Book now at flysaa.com. Amor, what are you seeing at this hour?
Bongani, some of the roads are already closed off to traffic, especially in the city of Ekurhuleni. Routes affected include the R21 south between Atlas Road and Fort Drucker Road, as well as the N3 north towards the Baku interchange coming out of the Kiluli's turnoff. The N12 as well as the R24 merge is also closed off to traffic there. So please be on the lookout and try to avoid, if you're heading towards areas like Germiston as well as Alberton, maybe try to use the N17 East instead. More updates and coming up, stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Experience Johannesburg to Gaborone with comfort and ease. South African Airways offers premium service, convenient connections, and flight times that work for your schedule. Choose between morning and afternoon departures and enjoy comfort, convenience, and warm South African hospitality. SAA is known for this. And for a limited time only, fly to Gaborone from just 2,762 Rand, all-inclusive as a return fare. Valid for sale until 4 December 2025. Book now at flysaa.com. T's and C's apply.
EWN Business.
28 minutes after 7 o'clock, Muteo Kharipa, the who's who are now seriously arriving in Johannesburg. I know the Australian Prime Minister's here. We understand that the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has just arrived in Johannesburg. With the attention of the world focused on us, we've still got our issues to deal with. And yesterday, good news, you could say, for hard-pressed consumers. The Reserve Bank announcing a 25% basis point interest rate drop.
Yeah, slight reprieve there. The Reserve Bank deciding to drop the repo rate by 25 basis points. South Africa's interest rate now stands at 6.75%. That's the repo rate. The prime lending rate, the rate which banks charge consumers, now at 10.25%. Now, members of the Monetary Policy Committee were unanimous in this decision. The move is linked to the inflation remaining contained despite edging up to 3.6% in October. It also comes after the National Treasury announced consensus on setting the country's inflation target at 3%. The central bank says growth is looking steadier than last year, with its 2025 growth forecast revised slightly higher to 1.3%. The SARB continues to see growth nearing 2% over at least the next 3 years. Central Bank says household spending has been relatively strong to date. I don't know how you feel, but it feels that South African households have been quite resilient, backed by things like withdrawals from the two-pot savings, lower inflation and interest rates.
All right, let's talk to our Mr. Price delivering solid number. Profits are climbing.
Yeah, Mr. Price Group saw its headline earnings per share rise 6.5% in the 6 months to September. The retailer says it operated in a persistently constrained consumer environment. The group increased total revenue by 5.4% to 18.6 billion rand, while retail sales rose by 5.5%.
Where's the rand?
At this hour, 17 Rand 24, clawing back some gains against the US dollar, 19 Rand 89 against the euro, and at 22 Rand 57 cents against the British pound. Price of gold down 0.5% at $4,056 an ounce, while platinum is at $1,508. Brent crude at $62.52 a barrel. More business after 8.
All right, let's catch up with business news now. We've just caught up with business news, but this eyewitness news brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Swisa Zulu, what you got?
Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. The G20 Social Summit has called for institutional reforms to global financial rules, norms and practices that will level the playing field for developing nations. It wants expanded access to long-term financing for sustainable development and targeted financing for vulnerable groups. In its declaration handed to President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday, the 22 engagement groups also called for affordable and equitable access to digital ecosystems and to play a central role in the just energy transition. Lindsay Dentlinker takes a look at their decisions.
Over the past year, 230 community dialogues were held under the banner of the People's G20. The Social Summit Declaration says the platform amplified diverse voices and strengthened social cohesion. Oxfam International Executive Director Amitabh Bahar says the Social Summit has been a beacon of hope in the fight for a just world.
We look up to the inspiration of the South African government, the Brazilian government, other governments who are going to take this progressive agenda forward. The civil society, the young, the women, the academics, we all need to redouble our effort.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says leaders are relying on this summit to guide the G20 agenda to ensure it takes the needs and aspirations of all countries into account.
We should not only focus on the leaders' summit, we should be focusing on the people.
The Social Summit has also appealed for people to be placed at the core of the just energy transition, for universal access to affordable, clean energy as a human right by 2030. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Boksburg.
The NPA says it'll support the extradition of alleged paedophile teacher Ian Wares back to the UK. Wares is fighting his extradition to Scotland to face sexual and physical abuse charges against him. The more than 90 charges relate to sexual crimes he allegedly committed against more than 60 boys during his time as a teacher there. He's also facing separate similar charges in a local trial currently running in the Wynberg Magistrates Court. Ntutuzelo Nene reports.
Ian Wares is opposing his extradition, and the matter has been through various South African courts, including his application to the Constitutional Court to halt the process. He made a brief appearance in the Simonstown Magistrates Court yesterday on a UK extradition warrant, and the matter has been postponed to January next year. NPA spokesperson Eric Ndabazalila.
We are trying to fight to ensure that he is extradited back to the United Kingdom, where he needs to face the courts.
Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
And there are growing concerns that fear of legal liability is hindering efforts to reduce food waste in South Africa. Consultant in natural resources and environment practice Carly Fratelli-Davi says that while sell-by dates protect consumers, retailers and suppliers also need some protection. Fratelli-Davi says South Africa will need a solution tailored to its own context. Camray Clark reports.
The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal aims to reduce global food waste by 50% by the year 2030. South Africa's progress has been limited as the country loses 10 million tons of edible food across the supply chain in the face of 13.8 million people that suffer from food insecurity. In September, the European Union revised their waste directorate with concrete targets for member states. states, a 10% reduction in processing and manufacturing food waste, and 30% for retailers, food services and households. Natural Resources and Environment Practice consultant Carly Fratelli-Davy says the country needs more data collection before implementation.
So I think just understanding our landscape is really important before we try and implement measures that may work overseas, but there's no guarantee that it works here.
Fratelli-Davy suggests that the issue bears much room for innovation. Camry Clark, Eyewitness News.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng with thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 27.
And in the traffic, we've got road closures in the city of Ekurhuleni. This is along the R21 South, the R24 West, the N12 West, as well as the N3 North between the Kilulis and the Baklu interchange. Please be on the lookout there. And if you're heading towards areas like the CBD, Joburg CBD, as well as Alexandra or Vincenton, try to use the M2 West as well as the N17 West and then rejoin the major routes towards those areas.
The top story this hour, the G20 Social Summit has called for institutional reforms to global financial rules, norms and practices that will level the playing field for developing countries.
Deals come and go with Black Friday, but this OutSurance deal is here to stay. Get a quote, and if OutSurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask for 500 Rand cash. Make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free with the same insurer for 3 years. You could get monthly premium savings or at least 500 Rand cash. Get more out. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. OutSurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
How do you push for global cooperation with so much resistance from the United States? Can we do that?
You know, we have to soldier on and soldier through. We can't give up on this thing. Now, we can't stop the G20 because one head of state decided last week that he no longer is interested in this.
Trevor Manuel?
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
South Africa is taking its place on the world stage at the B20 and G20 Summits 2025. Telkom is proud to stand with the nation, building a digital future that reaches every community. Through reliable fiber, mobile and cloud networks, Telkom is connecting families, small businesses and young people to new opportunities. They're helping drive digital public infrastructure so services are easier to access for all. Telkom, the digital backbone of South Africa's future.
Progress builds, it moves, and it has a partner. That partner is Anglo-American. Together, we're building progress where it matters most across South Africa. With a 1 billion Rand investment into education in our host communities, $15 million pledged to the Global Fund to support community-based health services, 1.6 billion Rand in deals facilitated through our Impact Finance Network. And as a sponsor of B20 and G20, we're bringing that same spirit of partnership to a global stage, proving that when collaboration is real, progress moves faster. South Africa has a partner. Join the conversation on social media. Anglo-American, mining potential, building beyond.
Calling all wedding planners and venues, restaurants, conference centers and hotels. Do you need tables and chairs? Home in One has it all. Do you need cutlery, crockery, table linen and restaurant equipment? Home in One has it all. Do you need tents, gazebos or umbrellas? Home in One has it all. Affordable prices, the latest trends with 2 branches in Pretoria and Johannesburg. Shop online at homein1.co.za because we're your number one choice. Home in One has it all.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Morning 702 lenders. You know, I thought maybe our president Cyril Ramaphosa was not going to say anything about America because they made it clear that they are not coming. If he was me, I was going to keep quiet. I was not going to even mention America until the last day when we do the handover. Same as we did with the posters. There is not even one poster that shows America somewhere, anywhere around how they have traveled. Last one here.
Good morning, Bongals. The ANC. Hey, they are very funny. Those clowns. Now they want to bring Thabo Mbeki back. Thabo Mbeki is going to stabilize the party, renewal and tonton. No, it's not going to happen. Thabo Mbeki, even if they bring him back to have a second bite on a cherry, no, he's not going to save them. Their fate has been written. They've turned against the people of this country. So nothing is going to save them. And the good thing is that Ntate Tutu is gone. So where are they going to go and apologize and try to have someone plead their case? No one is going to plead their case. They are done. Lutuli House is going to turn into a museum.
Ooh, gosh, strong words there. This, of course, following speculation that there may yet be a role for the former president, Thabo Mbeki, as efforts to try and revive the ANC continue to be discussed. I'm not sure what role he could eventually play, nor wants to play, but that voice note, they're quite convinced even if he were to decide to do so, he probably would not be able to save the ANC from itself. So that's certainly one issue. The other, of course, is, let me just make a correction. A little earlier on, we played you a clip of an exchange from Parliament yesterday, the ad hoc committee looking into alleged criminality within the police force. And the head of supply chain, one Lieutenant General Mulife Fani, testifying before that committee, was challenged by the DA's Ian Cameron, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police. And one of the issues, of course, that was raised was that no criminal background check was conducted on Vusumuzi Cat Madlanga. And at some point, Cameron says he was a convicted criminal, which I repeated. But just for accuracy, Cat Madlanga has not yet been convicted. He's been charged. His case, of course, has been transferred to the Joburg High Court, no longer at the Alex Magistrates Court, but he's been charged, but not yet convicted.
702.
What's the question?
What's the question is brought to you by Outsurance, a chance for you to win up to 3,000 Rand in cash. 1,000 Rand for the answer, 2,000 Rand if you can give us the question. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask Outsurance for 500 Rand. Today's answer comes from Donald. Donald, what's today's answer, please?
Good morning, Uncle Bongs and the team. Today's answer is 1976.
1976 is today's answer. And tell me, Donald, have you got yourself a quote from Outsurance?
Oh, yes, I did, Uncle Bongs.
Your biscuits, 1,000 Rand is your
Thank
way.
you.
All
Thank
thanks
you.
to Outsurance and 702. Donald says the answer is 1976. What's the question? Call us if you know on 011 8830 702.
EWN Sport.
Right, let's catch up with the world of sport now. Anthony Teixeira and I had a big debate yesterday, you and I, about I think Test cricket remains as exciting as ever. You were annoyed at our match against India. The match concluded within 3 days, not the 5. And I think that's part of what makes Test match cricket so exciting. It can go to 5 until the last over of the day. It can still be exciting. But the Ashes now well underway, and what a morning of cricket we've had.
Yeah, it's been spectacular watching it unfold, to be honest with you. Even somebody who doesn't like Test cricket like me, I might be enjoying this morning session.
I will win you over, my friend.
Well, the Australian
I'm a patient
quicks.
man.
Well, that's why you enjoy Test
You
cricket.
see, I'm a patient man.
Australian quicks.
We'll bowl you over. Hey? Be like bowling a maiden.
Well, the Australian quicks are well on top of day one of the Ashes. What we've seen is that England have managed to stumble their way to 161 for 7, not looking great for them in their first innings. What we saw at the start of the second session of the day is English captain Ben Stokes lasting just 5 balls before he was bowled by Mitchell Starc, who in the morning session had already decimated that top order with 3 early wickets. Since then, we have seen Brendan Doggett get his first wicket sport in international cricket as he took Harry Brook gone for 52. And in the last few moments, it was Mitchell Starc who completed a fifer as he's gotten Gus Atkinson. It means Jamie Smith is there on 28 with the next batter set to come out. In rugby, the Springboks brought back the heavy hitters who beat France 2 weeks ago for Saturday's evening clash against Ireland to enforce changes from that squad as they replaced the suspended Lot Diaga and injured Kurtley Arendse with Ruan Nokia and Kanan Moody respectively. Coach Rassie Rasmus going with the hybrid 6-2-5-3 bench, although he admitted that the 7-1 split was something that he considered.
We're going to our 14th match in a row this season, not in a row, but test match level, including the Barbarians. So I'm just glad that if one of our guys do go down in the one training session that left, we were pretty thin at lock. But then, even this morning I thought of chatting to the other coaches and saying, maybe this is a game also to go 7-1. I'm not quite sure what Ireland will go with.
Well, Ireland have gone for a full-strength side with a twist at 10 as Jack Crawley starts on the bench and Sam Prendergast has been handed the fly-half reins by Andy Farrell. In football, Mamelodi Sundowns begin their CAF Champions League group stage with a clash against St. Eloi Lupopo Saturday evening. Coach Miguel Cardozo has called on his side to brace themselves for a battle and get a better start than they did last season when they had back-to-back draws.
Hey, every match will have a story, but we have to write the right one on this one. Home match, a good start is important, so we will work hard and we've been working very hard. Most of all, understand how to play against this team that has its particularities, its way of playing, its own characteristics.
Former Man United midfield maestro Paul Pogba is expected to make his long-awaited return to football after more than 2 years out as Monaco take on Rennes in Ligue 1. The 2018 World Cup winner failed a drug test in August 2023 and was subsequently handed a 4-year ban, which was reduced to 18 months. Since joining Monaco during the season break, he has been on his own fitness plan as he is set to make his debut this weekend. An F1 World Drivers' Championship leader Lando Norris topped FP2 in Las Vegas, proceedings overshadowed by 2 red flags, one to check on the manhole cover on the track and one which was deemed to be a track maintenance. Meanwhile, Toto Wolff has sold 15% of his stake in Mercedes to American billionaire George Kurtz for $300 million, valuing the constructor at $6 billion. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
702. More than a radio station.
Let's walk the talk.
If you want a versatile SUV that's smart, efficient, and seriously advanced, meet the all-new BYD Sea Lion 5 plug-in hybrid. It's the affordable SUV that gives you electric power for your everyday trips, fuel-powered backup for your longer drives, and premium tech everywhere you look. The BYD Sea Lion 5 is packed with cutting-edge technology, from advanced driver assist safety features to the groundbreaking DMI technology. The BYD Sea Lion 5 makes every drive smarter. Visit www.byd.com and pre-book your test drive today. BYD, build your dreams.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
EWN Traffic.
Right, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by Citroen. On 22 November, experience Super Saturday when you book a test drive at your nearest Citroen dealership. Make your Saturday super.
Well, Bongani, those road closures are still there in the city of Ekurhuleni along the R21 South between Atlas and Voortrekker, the R24 West between Barbara Road and the Baklu interchange, as well as the N3 North between the Baklu turn-off and the Kilulis interchange. So please be on the lookout there and try to avoid. If you're heading towards the city of Tshwane at this moment, your best bet is to use the N17 and then turn off at the M2 to then join the Makwa North. And if you are traveling on the Makwa North, do we expect peak time delays between Boyson's Road and Car Street? More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Man, I'm super tired of my car.
Super tired?
Super.
So why don't you take a break from it?
Like a holiday.
A super long holiday. Take it in another car.
Isn't that expensive?
No, not with Citroen Super Saturday. You can test drive the C3 starting at 264,500 or Aircross SUV from 281,500 and take a 4-month payment holiday.
Oh, those are super cars.
On 22 November, make your Saturday super. Visit your nearest Citroen dealership or visit the website to book a test drive. T's and C's apply.
Unbox Black Friday with At Home. Enjoy up to 70% off selected homeware and furniture. From elegant dinnerware and timeless decor to inspiring furniture pieces, including 2-seater couches from 8,250 Rand. Save up to 40% on towels, up to 50% on cookware, and so much more. Shop in-store or online now on Bash. TFG Rewards members only. T's and C's apply. At Home, imagine more.
Dreaming of a tropical escape? World Leisure Holidays has your ticket to paradise with exclusive getaways to the Indian Ocean Islands. From the beaches of Mauritius and the Maldives to the charm of Madagascar, Seychelles, Zanzibar and more, your dream destination awaits. Take advantage of early bird specials and pay stay offers. Call 011-285-2500 and mention 702 for a mystery discount. Or follow us on social media or contact your nearest travel professional. Start planning your escape today. T's and C's apply.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
A unanimous decision. The committee saying they believe inflation is contained. Do you agree with that for the moment?
We agree, Stephen. If you look in terms of risk premiums, they've also declined, which is visible in bond markets. So all of those factors combined, we think they were reason enough for the MPC to say it's appropriate to cut rates by 25 basis points.
Azam Mhlanga is chief economist at Rand Merchant Bank.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA CIB. ABSA is a registered FSP.
702.
What's the question?
For 2,000 Rand in cash, all thanks to Outsurance, please tell me what's the question. If the answer is 1996. Let's go to Nicholas in Pretoria. Nicholas, what's the question?
Good morning, Bongani. The question is, when was the movie Rocky released? That won an Oscar, and it was in 1976, not 1996. 1976.
Yes, that is the answer, 1976. It was definitely not released in 1996. Nicholas, you win 2,000 Rand in cash, all thanks to Outsurance and 702. I want to remind you, of course, of this moment in which Rocky offers his son Robert life advice to help him realize that he's going to need to believe in himself and to fight for himself in order to have the life he wants. That is, of course, from the Rocky Balboa movie. That, of course, happened in 1976, the original one, but this one is a clip from the later version. I'll tell you what, let me play that a little later on. Let's take a quick ad break.
You could spend 10 minutes waiting for the microwave to beep or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. SMS out to 45142. Like 55-year-old Stefan, who now only pays an unbelievably low 611 Rand a month for his 2024 Suzuki Jimny. With Outsurance, you can drive with confidence. With up to a whopping 5 million Rand third-party liability cover that covers damage to the other person's vehicle in an accident, you can rest assured. SMS out to 45142. After switching, 55-year-old Andre now pays only 776 Rand a month for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser. Get a quote. If Outsurance can't beat what you're currently paying, ask them for 500 Rand. Make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash, you have nothing to lose. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Sure, your phone's from there. Your kids' toys? Definitely. But your SUV? No thanks. The Mini Countryman from 9,899 Rand per month with Mini Select Finance. Visit mini.co.za to book your test drive. Select offer only available from Mini Financial Services, a division of BMW Financial Services South Africa Pty Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. Offer exclusively applies to the Mini Countryman. Initiation and service fee apply. Offer linked to the current prime rate. Calculated on a 10% deposit, 48 monthly installments, final GFV payment, and 80,000 kilometer contract limit. Changes to the deal and optional extras will impact finance offer. Offer valid until 31 December. Subject to stock availability. T's and C's apply.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
702
702. What's gone viral?
with Kabazela.
Time now for the world of viral content. Kabazela.
Good morning to you, Bella.
I loved how this first story was framed with the person putting a picture and saying, please help me out. What does this mean?
Yes, so let's paint the picture here. So it's a picture of a sink and dishcloth. Now, let's ask people in terms of their own homes, or maybe when they were younger, if you walked into the kitchen and the sink was completely clean and spotless, and the dishcloth has been placed very nicely over the tap, or in the middle section of the sink if you had two, sinks on, side by side. What did that mean? That meant that the kitchen is now closed. Do not come into the kitchen and try and take a piece of bread and butter the bread and then put the knife back in the sink. Do not come and put your dirty glasses or coffee cups in the sink. Just don't come into the kitchen because the kitchen is now closed.
No more than that. No more than that.
Yeah. This post has gone viral with like millions and millions of views and thousands of comments, and people telling their stories about the kitchen being closed now as adults, and also way back when they were children. So as simple as that, let's put it out there and ask our 702 family this morning about your kitchen closed stories. I mean, did you ever go into the kitchen when it was closed and cleaned, and you did something, and then did you get the talking to of your life, and then you decided, no, never again will I go there. And also, parents must prepare themselves because it's December, school holidays coming up now. So when that kitchen is closed, it better remain closed.
Unless, of course, you are the child who cleans the kitchen and puts the dishwasher on the sink in that way to begin with. Our next story, what to do with your life?
This was such an interesting one I found. So it's a podcaster, Chris Williamson. He's got the Modern Wisdom podcast. He's got some really good guests on that podcast. And he asked one of the guests a simple question, which I'm not going to ask. I'm going to let him ask, and then I want you to answer the question as well. Let's take a listen.
If your life was a movie and people were watching up to this point, what would the audience be screaming at the screen, telling you to do with your life?
Sure. What a great question, hey?
It's a great question. I mean, how many times have you sat there in your lounge watching the TV and there's a main character or somebody and you're saying, come on, why don't you just do this, please? You do that, go this way. So it's a deep question, and I wanted to ask our 702 family this morning. If your life was a movie and people were watching up to this point, what would the audience be screaming at the screen, telling you to do with your life?
Sure. Perhaps,
and I mean,
not everything is as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
Right? Calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down. Just breathe. Mm-hmm. Just breathe. Maybe that's what the audience was screaming at me, hey? Just breathe.
Yeah.
Just breathe.
Yeah.
What do you think they would say to you?
For me, they would probably be saying, what is wrong with you? Why are you not living up to your full potential?
Ooh, Kabazela.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That's a big one. All right. If your life was playing out on a movie screen today, at this point, what would the audience be yelling at you?
702.
702. Feedback.
With Siamtanda Matiso.
Sia, what would the audience be screaming at you?
oh, hi, calm it down. That's all. Oh, hi. They will all say that. Yo. That's what they would say. They wouldn't give me any advice. They would just be like, ooh, what a movie. Like, what is going on with this one? This is supposed to crash out.
Right, what other feedback?
You know when you're watching a horror movie, you're like, run, girl, run. Why are you standing there? Why are you going to the dark room? That's what they would say.
All right, what other feedback do you have?
Many reacting to that clip you played about the White House secretary. They're saying she sounds young. Who says runs? We heard the president is running their mouth, but they're also saying maybe the president shouldn't have acknowledged that the Americans are coming through. But others are saying you can't ignore it. Exactly, Bongs. And some are saying, listen, let's just focus on what's happening and what's positive happening in our country, which is hosting these different countries and leaders that are coming into our country, Bongs.
Look, we are going to have wall-to-wall coverage of the G20, particularly tomorrow and Saturday, so you won't enjoy the full weekend regular programming. Our colleagues Stephen Grootes, John Perlman and Clement Manyatela will be at the Nasrec Center. They'll be there for the major speeches, the declaration and the handover at the end. So make sure throughout this weekend, if you want to be up to date with what is unfolding, you stay tuned to 702. Of course, at this point, not much to tell you other than that it is about to happen. Hasn't quite yet happened. It will. And we will certainly reflect it at the start of next week on Breakfast. But throughout the weekend, we will have extensive coverage of the G20 summit.
This is EWN.
The country gears up for a national shutdown to highlight and honor the victims of gender-based violence. We go live for the latest, and economists weigh in on the latest repo rate cuts. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Preparations are underway for a nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and femicide. Non-profit organization Women for Change is spearheading the demonstrations ahead of the G20 summit to make their voices or the voices of the victims heard. Activists say classifying gender-based violence and femicide as a national crisis is a step in the right direction. This is on the back of President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement yesterday that government will soon reclassify the scourge as a national crisis. One of the group's key demands had been for government to declare GBVF a state of disaster, but with the reclassification process now underway, the organization says today's protest will shift its focus to honoring and remembering those who have lost their lives.
The process is moving really quickly. We had an amazing meeting where they described to us what the classification is going to look like, but we've finally got what we were asking for.
Meanwhile, the People's Summit is part of an activity taking place at Constitutional Hill in Braamfontein, where participants have gathered this morning. We cross now live to Ntokozo Khumalo, who is following proceedings there. Ntokozo, take us through what's happening.
So it's a hive of activity as the People's Summit program moves at full speed to host its inequality awareness event. The summit will be joining in the calls for urgent address to the national crisis that has plagued many women in the country. The most recent figures show that close to 6,000 women have been killed in the country in a span of 12 months. As part of Women for Change's national shutdown, women, children, and members of the LGBTQ+ community are urged to abstain from all forms of labor. The demonstrators are also urged to lie down for 15 minutes in solidarity of victims and to honor those who have died. Ntokozo Khumalo, Eyewitness News, Constitutional Hill.
Tensions between South Africa and the US will appear to be far from easing, with the presidency firmly noting that President Cyril Ramaphosa will not be handing over the G20 presidency to a deputy ambassador. Ramaphosa yesterday announced that Washington was reconsidering its decision to skip this weekend's G20 summit, but Trump's administration swiftly moved to dismiss his remarks. Last night, the U.S. government clarified that none of its top leaders will attend the summit, saying a consular delegation will instead receive the G20 presidency. Alfred Mushwana takes a look.
From International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola saying the world can function with or without the United States.
We view it as non-attendance. They are absent.
To President Cyril Ramaphosa insisting that South Africa will not be bullied by Washington.
There should be no bullying of one nation by another nation.
Recent days have shown that diplomatic relations between the two countries remain strained. Last night, U.S. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt issued a sharp rebuke to Ramaphosa, accusing him of spreading fake news about Washington reconsidering its decision to skip the G20 summit.
I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated.
She's confirmed the United States has instead decided to send representatives from its embassy. However, in a post on social media platform X, presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya insists that Ramaphosa will not hand over the G20 presidency to a deputy ambassador. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And some economists believe there's room for continued easing of monetary policy after the Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee cut the repo rate by 25 basis points. The committee decided unanimously to lower the benchmark rate to 6.75% in the final meeting of the year yesterday. This brings the prime lending rate for commercial banks to 10.25%. Nokayam Dambo has more.
The 25 basis point cut to the repo rate comes amid improved economic sentiment, supported by an overshoot in revenue, an S&P credit rating upgrade, and South Africa's exit from the grey list. A further easing in borrowing costs is expected to push confidence and willingness to spend in the right direction. Economist and product head at FNB, Esther Ush.
However, we do recommend that if the budget allows, keep paying the previous higher installment, as this will assist with saving interest over the longer term. If, however, the consumer is relying on interest income from savings, this will potentially reduce as well, and there they will need to see where they can adapt their budget to see how they can make up any potential shortfall.
That said, economists at FNB say the MPC remains focused on future inflation, with a less likelihood of aggressive cuts in the near term. Nogukanyam Dambo, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $4,074.74 an ounce. The rand is at 17.23 to the dollar, 22.53 to the pound, 19.86 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $62.54 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the R21 South. This is just as you approach the Atlas Road exit. That's due to the road closures for the G20 delegation movement. So if you are traveling within the city of Ekurhuleni this morning, please try to find alternative routes, especially if you're heading towards areas like Sandton as well as Germiston. And then if you're traveling at this particular moment on the N12 West, we've got an accident reported right near the Edenville Road exit. It's causing delays coming out of Jet Park.
And in your sport, Mitchell Starc has completed a fifer against England as the Australians are well on top of the opening Ashes. The Proteas are preparing for the second test against India, although question marks over Kagiso Rabado's fitness. Coach Rassie Erasmus heads to a place that he's never won at, the Aviva Stadium, as the Boks take on Ireland Saturday. And continental football kicks off with group stages taking place over the weekend.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng with afternoon thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Preparations are underway for a nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and femicide and to honor victims.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Your wish is my command. That's been the response, really, of the government and President Cyril Ramaphosa. Today, of course, was going to be a big nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and femicide. Women for Change is a non-profit organization, and they wanted this to be classified as a national crisis. That is already, of course, on track, said the president yesterday. They're saying, yes, absolutely, it is a national crisis, and they want GBV specifically to be declared a state of disaster. So with all of that now underway, today's protest and march, whilst not being postponed, will shift the focus rather to honoring and remembering those who have lost their lives. We asked you a question a little earlier on. If, as you plan an event, either you're hosting it or you're going to one, everything just seems to go wrong. Murphy's Law strikes. How superstitious are you about carrying on? Do you look at all the things that go wrong as a sign that perhaps you should pause and reflect, even postpone? Or do you steam ahead? believing that you are being challenged and you must show your mettle, as it were. We're asking this, of course, in the context of the disasters that are continuing to unfold at Miss Universe. Directors leaving, contestants falling off stage, others hurling insults at contestants. They seem to be leaping from one crisis to another. Indeed, one of the judges that resigned said that the organizers do rig the contest. Means what? In the same week, we heard from the former Grammy Awards CEO who says the same things. How much do you trust these competitions?
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
All eyes, of course, on South Africa. All eyes on the presidency of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Africa hosting the G20 for the very first time. We do have international figures landing in South Africa. Some already have. Some are continuing to do so. Throughout the morning, we can expect announcements as the morning unfolds. We don't have the Chinese president in attendance, but the premier, who's like the prime minister essentially, is coming. We don't have the Argentinian president coming. We don't have the American president coming for all the reasons he's been stating these last few weeks. What the American involvement will be ultimately is still, I think, a little unclear, despite denials and protestations here and there. A little earlier on, we played you a clip of the White House spokesperson, if you will, their version of Vincent Magwenya yesterday, Carolyn Levitt, essentially talking about our president and suggesting that he was running his mouth off when he said the US would participate. Earlier in the day, we had been told by the union buildings that they had received some word of interest from a US delegation to attend. I want you to have a listen then to Carolyn Levitt a little earlier yesterday, criticizing President Ramaphosa.
The United States is not participating in official talks at the G20 in South Africa. I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated by the president or his team. The ambassador or the representative of the embassy in South Africa is simply there to recognize that the United States will be the host of the G20. They are receiving that send-off at the end of the event. They are not there to participate in official talks, despite what the South African president is falsely claiming.
Well, we don't know yet where that will lead to, because President Ramaphosa indicated he will not be handing over any, what would you call it? Can't hand over a report, I suppose, to any low-level delegation. But business continues. Yesterday, the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and the European Council President Antonio Costa held a press briefing yesterday and essentially said, look, business will continue. President Ramaphosa said, of course, that the G20 will continue no matter what the United States has to say.
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
702 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, so 12 minutes after 8 o'clock, Kabazela wants to know, Muteo Haripe, if your life was a movie, right now, we're watching it on screen, what would we be screaming at you as the audience? Wow. Did not see that one coming.
I'm in an action movie, man. I'm in an action movie.
What would they be screaming at you?
Oh, not that dramatic, please. Mine is very... Yeah, no, they wouldn't be screaming at all. They wouldn't.
The question is, what would they be screaming?
Say something. They would be saying, say something.
Ooh. Oof. That's loaded.
Morning, Bongani and team. I think the audience will be saying to me, choose yourself. Those kids will grow, whether you are there or not in their lives. Choose yourself. Because, wow, it's a moving impera.
Morning, Bongani. Morning, 702 listeners. I think my audience will be screaming, hey, quit relationships, bro. your software is not compatible with relationship. Just stay single. Moses friend.
Why do you keep going back to her?
Morning 702 family, Elson from Togoza. I think for me, they'll be screaming, put yourself first.
Morning, Bongani. For me, they will be screaming, audience would be screaming, hey, just go to that job and do the bare minimum. Do what is required in your JD and save the rest of your energy to start your business already. Start that business and plan your exit already.
Ooh, look, the common theme throughout all of those is choose yourself, right? Whatever your reasons, whatever. I mean, the first one is framing it around kids, because I understand what he's saying. I don't think it means he doesn't love his kids or doesn't want to be there for his kids. But so often people, particularly parents, will sacrifice themselves for kids who are not owed that sacrifice, who don't feel owed that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Kids will grow up and they'll be like, my guy, you were my dad.
Yeah.
You were supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think sometimes people will sacrifice themselves, almost hoping for some sense of recognition, appreciation, dare I even say reward for that sacrifice. And I think what he's saying there is don't do it at your expense, at your own expense. Make sure you live a full life, because your kids don't owe you living your life for you, right? Your kids are not going to owe you at the end of it. So if you are putting your life on hold, you're the one who loses out. I think that's what he's saying. Quit relationships. Your software is not built for relationships. Why do you keep going back? That's what the audience will say to that relationship. Wenzani? Why are you going back? And put yourself first. If your life was a movie, what would we be saying to you as the audience as we're watching it on screen right now?
EWN Traffic.
18 minutes after 6 o'clock. Amo, what are we seeing at this hour?
Well, those roads, unfortunately, Bongani, are still closed off to traffic in Ekurhuleni, and that is for the G20 delegation movement from the OR Tambo Airport. So routes that are affected include the R21 South, R24 West, as well as the N3 North. And if you are traveling on the N12 West, we've got an accident near Craft Road. It's causing delays coming out of the Jet Park Road exit, and there's also queuing traffic on the November 1 North. This is in the Roodepoort area, just as you approach Gordon Road. It's causing delays, and that's due to an accident. Do expect about a 10-minute hold up coming out of the Soweto Highway. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. From policy to impact, pride and progress, EWN 702 and Cape Talk will keep you connected to the heart of the G20.
The G20 Correspondence Desk on 702 is proudly brought to you by RMB and FNB, divisions of First Rand Bank Limited. South Africa, of course, are completely now in the spotlight as the world descends on Johannesburg. Leaders in politics, in business, in civil society, all here for this major gathering. EWN's Nokanya Mdambo has been following conversations. We've already seen, of course, a number of world leaders arrive. One or two are not here. Nokanya, we're counting quite literally the minutes now before the conversations start.
Can you believe that it's actually been a full year since we've started having these G20 conversations? 15 weeks since you and I have been having this conversation here,
Sure.
But a full year of these rigorous talks at a global stage. Quite phenomenal, actually.
In a way, we often, of course, will focus on the arrival of the big guns, as it were, but a lot of the groundwork begins, as you say, 15 weeks ago, a year ago, the preparatory conversations, the negotiations for that end of summit declaration that will come a little later on. How are things looking?
Not too shabby. A very good morning to the 702 landers. Apologies. It's just the excitement, really, as we draw closer to the G20 summit. But really not too shabby, Bongani. We spoke last week about the negotiations being really at the peak of the negotiations throughout the course of the week. That's what we've seen. We actually spoke to some of the DIRCO officials at the start of the week, just speaking about some of the sticking points. And it's the same as what it has been during the course of the year. Issues about gender, issues about climate financing, climate change as a whole, issues about the development goals as well. Those are the sticking points. But again, like the South African officials have affirmed, we are hoping at the end of it to come out with a declaration.
I spoke to the Standard Bank Group CEO yesterday, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, and of course one of the contentious issues for South African business in particular that they are raising is the cost of debt for African countries, comparatively speaking, around, compared to countries around the world.
Yeah, it's really the bias around Africa, the risk for Africa. And those are the sort of conversations. And I think part of having the G20 here in South Africa was South Africa, advocating for Africa as a continent and not just the conversations about South Africa. So trying to do away with the biases and the conversations there. How far that will go, of course, is a question that still is yet to be seen, but very big there. The cost of capital. Trevor Manuel's also somebody that we've spoken to at length about trying to bring down the cost of capital, the issues around the credit rating biases by some of the credit rating agencies. So all of those, I mean, even on, I think it was Wednesday, where we got the cost of capital report from Trevor Manuel, those conversations, the recommendations there, still ongoing, but we're yet to see whether those materialize or not.
The big, of course, issue overnight was, are the US coming? They're coming, but they're not coming. They're sort of coming, but no, they're not quite coming. President Ramaphosa explaining he's not handing over anything to a low-level delegation.
Yeah, that's where it stands. It was quite extraordinary to see all of those developments happening overnight. In fact, we were sitting on the politics group just sort of gasping the entire time as all of this was happening. First, it was President Cyril Ramaphosa on a public platform during the EU-South Africa bilateral conversations, saying they'd gotten a communique from the US delegation saying they'd assembled a delegation, not at the highest level, so not at the presidential or foreign minister's level, but there is a team of about, if I counted correctly, about 6 or 7, a team of delegation, part of the US embassy here in South Africa, who would only receive the declaration at the end, if in fact there is a declaration. Otherwise, there's a chair summary, but they would receive that declaration from the South African presidency to take forward into their presidency. Their junior staff, says the presidency, and they're not willing to hand it over to them. So that's where we stand at the moment in terms of that handover process.
All right, just explain the whole issue around a delegation and, do I call it a warning or caution at least, from the US government for one not to be made at this summit. What is that all about?
That was actually quite interesting, quite bold of US President Donald Trump to suggest that without them, a declaration cannot be finalized. And really the sense from the South African delegation has been, if you want to contribute to the conversations and the declaration at the end of the day of the G20 summit, you need to be in the room. And as we went into the negotiations for this past week, the US delegation has been absent. And so the South African officials saying, you haven't been part of these negotiations now, so at the 11th hour you cannot say no declaration can come out. The G20 is a consensus-based forum, Bongani. Therefore, if the member states in the room agree on a declaration, the people outside can no longer influence it.
B20, of course, a big part of this, because politics aside, business leaders have been coming, including the Americans. In fact, they were the second largest business delegation at the B20. That's been wrapped up. Any key outcomes?
Quite interesting, actually, Bongani, to listen to the business delegation saying they're not here to play politics. The relationship between South Africa and the US remains very important. 600 companies in South Africa invested here, about 22 on the other side. The relationship, again, very important. They're not worried about all of that, business as usual. Some of the outcomes from the communique that was issued yesterday at the end of B20 include a commitment to power infrastructure and, for there to be access to capital, the conversations around food security, so calls for governments across the globe to ensure that there's food security, building sustainable and climate responsive systems, also quite big, and then of course unlocking Africa's industrialization, and that's I think those are the key chief outcomes of that communique that came from the B20 summit.
Well, stay listening to 702 throughout the weekend. We'll give you extensive coverage of what unfolds at the G20 summit. Our colleagues Stephen Krotis, John Polman and Clement Manyatela will be there tomorrow and Sunday. Everything you need to know right here on 702. The G20, of course, focusing on solidarity, equality, and sustainability. All of this brought to you by RMB and FNB, the G20 Correspondence Desk. RMB and FNB are divisions of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
702, The World View
with Adam Gilchrist.
Let's catch up now with news from elsewhere in the world. Well, it's kind of here, in a sense. The G20, of course, is here.
Absolutely.
Adam, Keir Starmer is one of those leaders who has landed. He is here in Johannesburg. Others are here. What is the take, I suppose, from your part of the world?
Well, interesting that immediately that Keir Starmer headed to South Africa, there were those carping about how he's making another foreign trip. Never hear Keir is one headline. Admittedly, this is from a newspaper, Daily Mail, that is not a fan of Keir Starmer or indeed any Labour politician, but still, the way that it's couched, those terms seep in. So they suggest that Keir Starmer has made an 11,000-mile round trip for a, quote, useless G20 summit. That is a take, certainly, that some have, feeling that because of the absence of America, what can be done? And then you can look at others who go, well, actually, yes, the US voice will still be there, albeit not the president's. And it's only one voice amongst 21, technically. And therefore, although a loud voice, does it matter? And of course, yes, as you say, the declaration at the end could be rather important. But also that a lot of European leaders, and beyond, South American too, are facing turbulent times at home. That it's not going well for Keir Starmer. It's not going well for Emmanuel Macron. It's not going well for a lot of leaders. And therefore, although this isn't a diversion, actually to get some business done, to come back and say, look, we've supported this, and things will come out of this that will benefit us and benefit others and so forth. I think that might actually play quite well overall. But solidarity, equality, sustainability, it doesn't sound like a Donald Trump slogan, so you can see why he's not there necessarily.
Yeah, no, it sounds the very antithesis of what Trump stands for. Adam, tell me about China's spy games.
Yeah, beware politicians is basically beware Chinese bearing gifts, as the old adage doesn't quite go. This is about trying to recruit people. Sometimes it's not about standing in a trench coat in a bar or outside the Cafe Mozart or something. It's actually about just passing information, sharing names. Have you got the number 4? It might not sound like spying, but there's this warning that's gone out in the UK to government ministers and beyond, just be careful who you're talking to. And as they said to Beijing, this is sort of almost an official government statement. We know what you were doing. We know we won't stand for it. This is after a trial collapsed last month because 2 men were accused of spying for Beijing. But because the words enemy or security threat were not used, the trial collapsed, which is kind of daft. But now MI5, the British Homeland Security Agency, is saying, well, there are plenty more politicians who seem to be targeted by the Chinese Communist Party. Members of Parliament offered all expenses paid trips to Beijing in return for what? Expensive gift items, just to curry favor, asked to use encrypted messaging apps. It might look quite harmless. Oh, just send us a message on this in the future. MI5 says some of it is overt, some of it is covert, but that the tentacles of the Chinese security services are reaching out. And if it's British politicians, you can bet it's others too.
Right, let's talk about Australia's teenagers. What, they're going to have to learn to ride bikes again and play outside, Adam?
I think that's the idea. Yeah, let kids be kids, I think, is the slogan of Anthony Albanese, who, by the way, is, I think, heading to the G20.
He's here.
Totally, oh, right, he's there. It's a totally spurious story in Australia about how he could be in danger because of protests. Let's talk about fake news when it really is fake news. But his idea about let kids be kids is basically banning the under-16s from social media. There'll be any number of 15-year-olds in Australia who are thinking, when's my birthday again? They're on a countdown to the 10th of December. And apparently what they're going to do from pretty much now onwards is notify under 16s and presumably their parents too. But I'm afraid that's it for you on Instagram and Facebook, but more especially TikTok and YouTube and X. I suspect TikTok and YouTube are probably used rather more by under 16s. But anyway, the very app that's going to kick them out is now informing them that they're going to be kicked out. That's going to be tough to take for the under 16s. But whilst the Australian Prime Minister has talked about this as a world-leading ban, it's certainly a world-watching ban. Would that kind of ban, given all our concerns and our alerts, would that work with you? Would it work with us? We shall see. We'll watch, won't we?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's that time the rest of the world try to pick up on that. Adam Gilchrist with this morning's World View.
EWN.
Final business update for the morning. Muteo, Mr. Price delivering solid numbers.
The retailer says its headline earnings per share profit measure in South Africa rose 6.5% in the 6 months ended in September. The retailer says it operated in a persistently constrained consumer environment. Mr. Price increased total revenue by 5.4% to 18.6 billion rand, with retail sales rising by 5.5%. The group opened 91 new stores during the period, growing its total store base to 3,100 stores. Short-term relief through lower interest rates, like we saw yesterday from the SARB, and inflation has not been sufficient to offset the effects on the economy and the spending by consumers. The company felt it was a very, very constrained environment. Mr. Price saw shares go up more than 6% yesterday.
And talk to me, of course, we are all celebrating, in some sense, the Reserve Bank being a little gentle with us yesterday.
Yeah, the Reserve Bank decided to drop the repo rate by 25 basis points. South Africa's interest rate now stands at 6.75%, the prime lending rate at 10.25%. The move was unanimous from the Monetary Policy Committee. This particular decision is linked to the inflation remaining contained, despite edging up 3.6% in October. The central bank says growth is looking steadier than last year, with its 2025 growth forecast now revised slightly higher to 1.3%. And of course, the target is now officially 3%.
Where's the rand?
17 Rand 23 against the US dollar. It's gaining on it this morning at 19 Rand 89 against the euro. And you'll need 22 Rand 56 cents to get £1 Price of gold in some weakness this morning at $4,058 an ounce, while platinum is at $1,510. Brent crude at $62.67 a barrel. Stephen Grotes to bring you more business and more from the G20 today and this weekend.
Yes, indeed. Time now for the latest eyewitness news. Straight to the news desk. The big march, is it still happening, Swiss Zulu?
That's right, Bongani, it is, as preparations are underway for that nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and to honor victims. Non-profit organization Women for Change is spearheading the demonstrations this morning amid G20 summit activities. Activists say classifying gender-based violence and femicide as a national crisis is a step in the right direction. This is on the back of President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement yesterday that government will soon reclassify the scourge as a national crisis. One of the group's key demands had been for government to declare gender-based violence and femicide a state of disaster. But with the reclassification process now underway, the organization says today's protest will shift focus to honoring and remembering those who lost their lives.
The process is moving really quickly. We had an amazing meeting where they described to us what the classification is going to look like, but we've finally got what we were asking for.
The People's Summit is part of an activity taking place at Constitutional Hill in Johannesburg, where participants are gathered. Ndogozo Kumalo is there.
And in sport, Australia fast bowler Mitchell Starc completes his 5-wicket haul.
Apologies for the incorrect soundbite. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Vietnam Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh have arrived in South Africa for the G20's Leaders Summit. The leaders from the world's largest economies have touched down in Johannesburg despite the absence of the US, which will take over the G20 presidency from South Africa. Some of the leaders who arrived yesterday include Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
It's the most important gathering for which Australia is a member. It represents 85% of the global economy, 75% of global trade. 1 in 4 of Australia's jobs depends upon trade.
Meanwhile, the G20 Social Summit has called for institutional reforms to global financial rules, norms and practices that will level the playing field for developing nations. It wants expanded access to long-term financing for sustainable development and targeted financing for vulnerable groups. It's in its declaration handed to President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday. The 22 engagement groups also called for affordable and equitable access to digital ecosystems and to play a central role in the just energy transition. Lindsay Dentlinga takes a look.
Over the past year, 230 community dialogues were held under the banner of the People's G20. The Social Summit Declaration says the platform amplified diverse voices and strengthened social cohesion. Oxfam International Executive Director Amitabh Bahar says the Social Summit has been a beacon of hope in the fight for a just world.
We look up to the inspiration of the South African government, the Brazilian government, other governments who are going to take this progressive agenda forward. The civil society, the young, the women, the academics, we all need to redouble our effort.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says leaders are relying on this summit to guide the G20 agenda to ensure it takes the needs and aspirations of all countries into account.
We should not only focus on the leaders' summit, we should be focusing on the people.
The Social Summit has also appealed for people to be placed at the core of the just energy transition for universal access to affordable, clean energy as a human right by 2030. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Boksburg.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng with afternoon thundershowers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 27 degrees.
And in the traffic, we've got an accident on the N12 West. This is before Craft Road. It's causing delays coming out of Jet Park Road. And those roads are still closed off to traffic. That's in the city of Ekurhuleni for the G20 Summit movement. So please do expect delays and drive with care. The routes that are affected already include the R21 South, the R24 West, as well as the N3 North.
The top story this hour, preparations are underway for a nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and to honor victims.
For generations, the world has spoken about Africa.
More needs to be done to ensure that the prosperity is broadly shared.
Now, for the first time, the world's leaders gather on African ground.
This summit's location underscores the need for African voices to be heard.
On the 22nd and 23rd of November, the G20 summit lands on our soil. A moment where South Africa doesn't just host the conversation, we help lead it.
The majority of the 54 nations that now comprise Africa were never offered a seat at the table where plans for a new world order were being drawn.
From solidarity and equality to food security, poverty and climate justice, this is where Africa's voice rises, not as an echo, but as a force. And as history unfolds in real time, EWN, 702 and K-Talk bring you closer to every decision, every voice, every detail that shapes our future. Stay with us and stay connected to the story being written on home ground. On air, on the EWN app, and on primemediaplus.com.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Progress builds. It moves, and it has a partner. That partner is Anglo-American. Together, we're building progress where it matters most across South Africa. With a 1 billion rand investment into education in our host communities, $15 million pledged to the Global Fund to support community-based health services, 1.6 billion rand in deals facilitated through our Impact Finance Network. And as a sponsor of B20 and G20, we're bringing that same spirit of partnership to a global stage, proving that when collaboration is real, progress moves faster. South Africa has a partner. Join the conversation on social media. Anglo-American, mining potential, building beyond.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
It was almost a Good Friday. until I hear when I open my favorite station 702, then I hear a lady saying that our president was running his mouth. How dare she? Who is she to say that our president was running his mouth? I think the US ambassador has to be recalled. This is enough. This is enough. This is enough. That was an insult not to us, to our sovereignty, to the whole of South Africa. That was an insult. Please don't let it fly. Whether it's Friday, but don't let it fry.
Hi, Bongani. I'm Zuko speaking. I understand our anger as South Africans with this G20 summit and all the drama that's happening around it. There's this African saying that you don't have to wrestle a pig in the mud because you won't win, because that is its territory. So whatever language that the US uses, I think we should just remain calm and think things through and then put our argument forward using proper language as we should. And that's that. So yeah, I think we should just remain calm and don't wrestle this pig. Just leave it in its mud and let's do whatever we need to do with everybody else. Thanks.
I think that's exactly what the president has chosen to do. He's standing firm. That declaration will go ahead and is not handing over anything to a junior delegation. It is what it is. We are carrying on.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, wow. This Ashes is already on fire. Let me read some stats to you. 6 for 48 versus India at Adelaide in 2024. 6 for 9 versus the West Indies, Kingston earlier this year. And Mitchell Starc's just taken his career best figures this morning.
Yeah, it's simply sensational is the only way to describe what he's done this morning to England, as he took 7 for 58. That's it for England's first innings, all out for 172 as they start the Ashes series. Brandon Doggett getting his first international wickets as well, as he claimed 2 for 28. Cameron Green also picking up a wicket. The Australians have since started their innings, and for Jake Weatherald, his first innings for the Baggy Greens lasted just 2 balls before he was trapped LBW by Joffrey Archer. Since then, it's taken 4 overs for Australia to finally get a run on the board, and they are 5 for the loss of 1. At the crease right now is Steve Smith, who's taken a bit of a knock due to a delivery that hit him in the midriff, but he seems to be okay.
Was that an Archer delivery?
It was indeed, for one. Oh. And Marnus Lavashane is there on 4. It's going to be a feisty day I
want Archer to do well, hey?
Really?
I want him to do well. I want him to do to them what he did to us.
That's fair, although it is very surprising when a South African is, trying to say that England should do well in a test match.
No, I want an exciting Ashes. Remember, I'm still trying to win you over.
Yeah. Good luck with that one. Well, the Proteas are preparing to play India in the second test, which starts Saturday. Bowling coach Pete Botha says their fast bowler Kagiso Rabada is still being assessed and hasn't been ruled out of the game.
Rabada is still being monitored by our medical staff. It obviously wasn't at practice today, but they'll make a call in the next 24 hours. As far as the pitch is concerned, obviously I had a look at it this morning. It's still 2 days out, so it's difficult to predict if they're going to actually cut more grass off or not. That will obviously make a difference.
2 matches for the T20 Challenge, with the afternoon seeing Western Province play the Lions and then the Titans up against the Dolphins. In rugby, Rassie Erasmus will head to the Aviva Stadium, a place where he's never registered a victory at, as the Springboks tackle Ireland.
I haven't won at the Aviva as a coach, even with Munster. We played the Scarlets in the Pro 12, Pro 14 final, and we lost here. I play against Saracens in the European Cup last year, and I think we've coached now here 3 times. So we're part of the coaching team, management team, and we haven't won yet.
Kickoff is 20-8 Saturday evening. Before that, the All Blacks take on Wales, with the late match seeing the Wallabies in Paris against France. Let's switch now to football, where continental competitions will begin with the group stages. Mamelodi Sundowns have a first outing in the CAF Champions League as they host a Congolese side, St. Eloi Lupopo, Saturday afternoon. Coach Miguel Cardozo says that the Congolese side aren't the sort of team that you can afford to drop your concentration levels against.
It's a very honest team with quality. I think that what is important is that we know
what this opponent can do. We know how we have to face them, not to make mistakes throughout the match and give them a game that may be more simple for them to control.
The Confederation Cup is Sunday with Kaizer Chiefs in Egypt to play Al Mercy. Stellenbosch meeting Congolese club AS Otoho. The Premier League weekend will be headlined with the North London derby Sunday evening. Log leaders Arsenal hosting their rival Spurs. While in tennis, the Davis Cup semi-finals get started. Defending champs Italy against Belgium today. Tomorrow, Spain meet Germany. The Las Vegas F1 weekend is upon us. Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris quickest in the free practices Friday. Lights out Sunday morning, 6 a.m. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
The G20 Summit coming to Johannesburg is a stepping stone towards a brighter future for the city. Josie My Josie has launched the Babize Bonke campaign to shine a spotlight on some of the extraordinary champions who are reshaping Johannesburg from the ground up.
Hi, I'm James Delaney, an artist and activist based at Victoria Yards. For the last 12 years, I've led the campaign to restore the wilds, from an abandoned space to one of Josie's best-loved parks, with 40 acres of indigenous plants, waterfalls, and over 100 mosaics and sculptures.
Josie My Josie is making the invisible visible, giving the voiceless a voice. It's a movement for the people, by the people, creating a city that we can proudly call Josie My Josie. Come see how Josie does it. A city that's alive, ready, and rising. Prime Media and 702 are proud sponsors of Josie My Josie.
Of course, Josie My Josie's Babize Bonke champion James Delaney will be interviewed on Weekend Breakfast by Gugs Mhlungu this Sunday at 8 a.m.
Hi, this is Alia Itzebet, Hollywood Bet's brand ambassador. A reminder that you can still shoot for the stars playing responsibly. If you or someone you know needs help, call the South African Responsible Gambling toll-free counselling line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop.
To celebrate 25 years of helping you live the Premier life, FNB Premier is giving you a chance to win a 14-day European tour experience and other cool monthly prizes. Open any FNB Premier account from September to 31 December 2025. Switch your salary, swipe or tap a minimum of 2,000 Rand per month for 3 months straight. Spend and win with FNB Premier. FNB, help changes everything. TCs and competition rules apply. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
EWN Traffic.
Let's wrap up the morning's traffic. Amo, what are you seeing on the roads now?
Bongs, we still have got those road closures. The R21 south between Atlas Road and Fort Ricker Road, as well as on the R24 west between the OR Tambo interchange and the Baklu interchange, and then on the N3 north between the Baklu interchange and the Gilulis interchange. So please try to avoid those routes this morning. As we speak, we've got an accident reported on the N12 west. It happened after Croft Road. It's causing delays. There's also an accident heading towards Roodepoort. Now this is along the N1 north. It happened right near Gordon Road. It is slowing down traffic coming out of the N17. More updates coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
As leaders in renewable energy finance, Nedbank has a track record spanning over 100 years. From pioneering large-scale solar and wind farms to financing complex energy infrastructure in emerging markets, Nedbank offers clients deep sector expertise, combined with the ability to navigate the unique challenges of Africa's just energy transition. See money differently. Nedbank. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
What do partners of the Gates Foundation do when facing the world's toughest challenges? They keep going. From discovering a plastic drape that helps detect excessive postpartum bleeding faster, to developing better bed nets to kill malaria-carrying mosquitoes, to researching an RSV vaccine that could save hundreds of thousands of children. For every problem, there are people who prove that progress is possible. The Gates Foundation, partners of human potential. Learn more at gatesfoundation.org/keep going.
Coming up
on the Clement Manyatela Show
on 702.
Clement Manyatela, of course, has been preparing for this big weekend, and they really won't get much bigger than this for the whole year.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think it's going to be interesting what happens this weekend.
there are all kinds of speculations, Bongani, about what our government is going to agree to or not agree to. Should President Cyril Ramaphosa actually put his foot down, like the presidency said, and not allow for the handover to be towards a quote-unquote a junior diplomat? And if they're going to allow them to come, what's going to happen on Sunday? Like, are they going to come, want to be on stage with the other leaders so that the transfer happens? So I'm really looking forward to the G20 summit this weekend. We're going to be broadcasting from there. But what we're going to do today is we're going to start by doing Gratitude Friday on the 702 open line. And then I'm going to be asking our listeners as well about what they think the approach of the South African government should be towards the US, especially given what the press secretary said yesterday about our president running his mouth. At 10 o'clock, we do our Across the Desk feature. Today, I'm hosting teenage mothers who are going to share their stories with us. These are people who fell pregnant as teens and they remain teen mothers today. At 11, we wrap up the show with our relationship feature. Today, we're tackling something that has affected many of us in one way or the other: cheating. Why do people cheat?
All right, we'll find out between 9 and 12 on the Clement Manyatela Show.
Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for butcheries, restaurants, beauty salons, and more. Here's Gert.
I definitely have peace of mind that Business Outsurance is protecting our business. I do think Business Outsurance are the best insurance company out there, and they gave us the best quotes.
Switch to Business Outsurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Visit outsurance.co.za. Switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Ha, guys, you must know your till slip is gonna get even longer. That new Discount Better Rewards card gets you 10% off instantly. Hey, but now, on top of that discount, you get an extra 5% off on over 140 brands. You just hand in your script or shop from the pharmacy. With 15% off instantly at the till. Your discount till slip never looked better. How nice, man.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
It is 9 minutes before 10 o'clock. If you're listening to 702 Breakfast, welcome to the show. The Sandton Convention Center, of course, is going to be a buzz. It is the center of global attention as this weekend Africa hosts its first ever Global Citizen Now Summit, a gathering focused on one defining challenge: bringing electricity to the 600 million Africans who still live without it. This is, of course, the wider context of the political and business discussions. So not only are you going to be hearing and seeing presidents, prime ministers, investors, but there's also the artists and community leaders who are going to be in the room. Yesterday, we saw that press briefing between the president and the EU Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen. But there are a lot more conversations that are also underway. One of the most urgent needs of the hour. You can't talk about building infrastructure. You can't talk about the next leap as far as technology and particularly young people without electrifying the continent. You've also got to do it with clean energy. So what? More than $100 billion in investment. We are looking at what needs to happen. I'm so pleased to tell you that in the studio, I've got the Global Citizen CEO, Hugh Evans, and the fantastic, what do I call Nomzamo Mbata?
I mean, she's fantastic in every way.
She's an activist. She's an actress. She is somebody who is an advocate for justice, one of the smartest people I've ever met. And she and I have got to know each other a little in the last year or so.
A lot.
So I feel a little familiar now.
Yes.
We've even disagreed once or twice.
Wow.
The cheek in me. But that's a story
Always.
for another day. I'll start with you then, Queen Nandi herself. No. Nomzamo, in a room full of presidents and CEOs, how are everyday South Africans a part of this incredibly moment? And I'm thinking here particularly women and young people when we think about what comes next for Africa.
It's our responsibility. In the greater scheme of the social contract, the provocation has to say, what are my skills? My skills are being a storyteller. And part of being a storyteller is giving things language. And that's always the case in terms of like such high level gatherings where the everyday person, the grassroots level person who may not be invited in certain rooms or be invited in certain conversations, ours is to take that policy, to take those commitments, to take those issues that are at a high level and give it a language and build that bridge, Bongani.
As a global citizen ambassador, how do you center your humanitarian work in such a big moment with so many decision makers? How do you even decide this is the thing I want them to hear from me?
Well, I'm fortunate enough that I'm a person who, even in the rising, I still stay very much rooted. So in terms of what is happening in Guamash, what is happening in Alex, what is happening in Soweto, for me, I'm always wanting to be in the know, to be full of knowledge so that when the Global Citizen team or when the UN team, when we're gathered in the room and they want to understand what are the ways that we can be able to empower communities, Nomzamo, you continue to stay rooted. You know, what are the issues that we need to be focusing on? And so I do think that when it comes to building that bridge, it's absolutely important to understand that these are the policies, these are the commitments, and these are the key players, but also at the very end, this is the value chain of things to be able to make that impact. And I think Global Citizen makes such an incredible and impactful sort of, strategy, but also how they work is that they understand from the grassroots all the way up to the glass ceiling.
Indeed, Hugh Evans, let me bring you then into the conversation. The whole idea of Global Citizen is that it's delightful to have a humanitarian, an activist, and a recognized thought leader like Nomzamo putting the message across. But it's the idea also that every one of us has a voice, has a role to play, and can do something about what the world needs and the change we want to see in this world.
Absolutely, Bongani. I think that everything that Global Citizen does was inspired by what Mandela said when he said that overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity, but it's an act of justice. And he said, like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural, it's man-made and can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. And so everything Global Citizen does is about citizens taking action. That's why in the Global Citizen app, when we talk about big issues like electrifying Africa, as you said in your opening, it has to be rooted in action. And in this campaign, over 1.5 million global citizens around the world have taken action, calling on world leaders to fully fund efforts to electrify Africa.
How do we make sure those promises turn into megawatts of connection?
So it starts with actually making sure they commit in the first place. And so, you know, you've got several heads of state who are going to be joining us today for Global Citizen Now. You've got Hichilema of Zambia. You've got the Prime Minister of Norway, Støre. You've got the Taoiseach of Ireland. You've got President Ursula von der Leyen all gathering with us today for Global Citizen Now. And you need to make sure they're making time-bound financial commitments that can be measured. And then we have an entire team at Global Citizen whose job it is to hold their feet to the fire. So if they don't follow through on that commitment, we publish that information and we get Global Citizens to actively go after them, tweet them in their hundreds of thousands, message them in their hundreds of thousands, because pressure is important. We live in democracies and Global Citizen is a global digital democracy.
Nomzamo, you talk about being rooted even in the rising. You don't have to struggle to know what it's like for people who are still studying by candlelight in Guamashu, as you mentioned. As a storyteller, how do you get that message across in terms of the limitations that gives somebody who starts like that in life?
I think it's important to draw the parallels, right? Because a young girl in Guamashu who's still studying by candlelight is the same girl that's in Ghana who's still studying by candlelight, right? They may have different systems that are holding them back, but the common denominator is the fact that they are still living in darkness, and it should not be. It's 2025. And I think what's important also is that there are solutions that are out there. You know, I like to talk about the just transition. It's a framework that the presidency had introduced in 2021, because you've got to be also cognizant of the fact that there are still communities that rely on fossil fuels.
Exactly.
On the fossil fuel economy, right? So if you're saying that we're getting rid of fossil fuels, those communities, there's going to be an uprising there. So when we speak about just transition, we're talking about energy security.
Leave no one behind.
Leave no one behind.
an important voice to consider, of course, is the voice of the future. Young people aren't some phenomenon that's going to happen. They're here right now. We want to make sure we don't have conversations about them without them.
Yeah.
Right? How are we bringing young people into the conversations now?
It was interesting. Like yesterday, I had a meeting with some Global Citizen fellows, and they were young people from across the continent who Global Citizen have been working with on this campaign. And earlier this week, they brought everyone together for a giant seminar focused on this issue of the just transition, as Nomzamo was saying. And I was so inspired because there was this one young guy, amazing Gen Zer, and he had actually established his own clean energy transport campaign in Benin, where he's from.
Wow.
And he actually, it was all of his fleet of cars were solar powered. And it was amazing. I was like, you are an entrepreneur using clean energy to power transport. You are exactly an example, because everything that Nomzamo is talking about comes back to one word: job creation. Like, you need to make sure jobs are at the center of it, and that people who were previously reliant upon fossil fuels, they can be part of the new economy.
Inventor, innovator. Nomzamo, I'll let you have the last word. Having attained all of the success you have in so many different aspects of your career, perhaps it's a silly question, but why do you still care? You could be the you are Nomzamo.
I know.
Why do you care?
I could look into the horizon and never look back. It's because I just know my feet are still planted in this beautiful country, and I'm provoked by this motto that I've clearly set on a path for myself, which is to leave my generation better than I found it. And I cannot say those words without acting on them. And so in 2030, when we are filling in that report card for the UN SDGs, I know that I've amplified missions such as Global Citizen. I've amplified missions such as the Nomzamo Lighthouse Foundation. I've amplified missions such as the UN Refugee Agency. And I will know that I, in the social contract of life, have signed something.
You did what you could. And if Nomzamo can do it, so can the rest of us. I would encourage everyone to get the Global Citizen app and get involved.
702 podcasts are on 702.co.za.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of 702 Breakfast. Stay tuned to 702 all weekend. Everything you need to know about the G20 summit, you'll hear it first. You have yourselves a fantastic weekend. I'll see you bright and early on Monday morning. The Clement Manyatela Show starts now.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Preparations are underway for a nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and to honor victims. Non-profit organization Women for Change is spearheading the demonstrations this morning amid G20 summit activities. Activists say classifying gender-based violence and femicide as a national crisis is a step in the right direction. This is on the back of President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement yesterday that government will soon reclassify the